still not turning. Rotate your device. You can't turn your phone while live. Okay, for the record, this is the old county courthouse downtown. The ceilings are high, so acoustics is really crazy in here. You'll just have to pay close attention. There is a Zoom link, so you might get better audio on the Zoom than you do through my stream, but you can comment down in the comments. You can also speak up and testify, or speak to the Commissioner's Court as testifying in the legislature. But you can also speak during via Zoom, but you had to have signed up by 8 a.m. Tighten this up.
All right, let's go ahead and call this regularly scheduled meeting of Commissioner's Court to order. It's the 22nd day of July at 8:30 a.m. We do have a quorum present. If we can, let's go ahead and have a prayer.
Heavenly Father, thank you for your love, your grace, your mercy, and the sacrifice of your Son for our sins. Lord, watch over us as we deliberate today. Help us to keep the wants and needs and desires of the citizens of Hill County in our hearts and our minds and our deliberations. Lord, we love you. We give you all the glory. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
All right. How are you this morning? Commissioner, how are you?
Well, I'm good. We finally got a road survey done yesterday, and we got the map of the project for 440 done. We started going this morning. Got a few disgruntled citizens about the closing of the road, but now we just have to run its course. Road public closed from 9:33 to 4:48. Periodically until we're done. The plan is from 7 a.m. to 6:30, and then open back up in the evening. The only exception would be the people that live along the route between 9:33 and 4:48 in emergencies. So we're running traffic control on that, and everything seems to be going good. Fingers crossed we'll have this done before the road naming ceremony on the 4th of August for Wildcat Way, and then we'll have the road for sure completed before school starts. I may need some help from the deputies if that gets out of control. Making the sheriff call. Other than that, Blade Road's trying to patch up all the problems we had from the rain week before last, which were extensive. Doing damage assessments on them to see if we might qualify for possession. We had 10 miles of road were completely wiped out about 8 months before. It happened everywhere for sure. We were particularly hard hit. That's where we're at.
I had one call day before yesterday, lady couldn't get home because of the barricade. I gave you the number.
Thank you.
So she didn't get home, she was worried about it. But she lived right off Bethlehem Cemetery.
Yeah, she called the city hall there in Whitby, and I got a call from them.
Yeah, I said, we'll get you home. But same thing, we're still patching roads and trying to shred some roads in between when we can, and trying to, patch some potholes. But, I explained, I've got about 80 miles of chip seal road now, and 5 employees, and around 300 miles is kind of hard to bring them loose to take care of the other roads, you know, take care of potholes, but, that's usually what Friday is planned for, they don't like it, so they go do it, I appreciate it.
Same thing, just playing catch up, and, started a project yesterday, in a local agreement we entered into with Penelope last year to do their road going rest road. Not a big project as Mr. Baldwin's is, but we're gonna do it and, prepare the surface for them, and they're gonna come in and, fix it, so. Other than that, just fix the potholes, cut city candy back out over there, just like that. That's it.
Commissioner?
No, we're not getting much done. We've got 2 guys on vacation, 2 out of 5 doesn't use a lot of room, and 2 of those guys are the blade drivers, so, one blade and all the roads we got doesn't really go very far, but it'll do a few, so, that's what we're doing.
Doing good, Judge. We've got everybody back from vacation finally, so we're fully staffed again. Still trying to track down the MDTs for the constables that we've ordered. Somehow they got returned to sender. They're back in Memphis, Tennessee. So trying to get those here to get those guys upgraded. Other than that, this week, I know this Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, we're going to be helping out the treasurer's office. They're getting some new flooring, so we're going to break down everything, put it all back together the next day. So it's kind of what we got going on right now.
Tanner? You're awesome.
She's always good.
Always awesome. JP? Oh, I'm looking at you. Oh, you're looking at me? Yes, sir. I have that. Oh. Sheriff?
Things are going good, Judge. Inmate count's about 165-ish per day today. We are, doing the best we can with what we have, so no issues as far as anything else.
Good. Let's see.
They limit them.
Yes, oh yeah, I bet. Just bored, huh? I bet. That's right.
And then in order, payroll, accounts payables, everything, all that's coming up, as Philip said, they're gonna be closed in my office. We will close it, we were on Thursday, and then closed only on Friday next week. Other than that, business is normal.
Good.
Oh, for the first time in 19 years, I'm not sitting at that table, but things are going really well for me. Things are moving along. We've got a suppression hearing this morning, which is probably going to go along into my time that was scheduled for budget, and I was just here this morning. If you guys get an opportunity before 9 o'clock, to know if you have any questions about any requests or explain those to you. But otherwise, things are going quite well.
Scotty said we're doing the same for you and for us.
Yep. That says conservative budgeting and credit. We didn't find any opportunity.
Yeah, she's gonna be closed this Friday.
This week, okay.
This week.
Then this,
Yes.
okay. Treasurer will be closed this week, not next week.
Everything's going well in court. We moved through a couple of bigger civil dockets we had, keeping up with the jail administration, and keeping up with the warrants that are coming in, getting those moved out. So law enforcement can act on them, but other than that, court's going well.
Any hearing?
Trying to get as much done as I can before I go on vacation this week.
Like it. All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on to open forum at this time. Do you have anybody on open forum? No, we do have one online. Is that correct? Do we know who it is? If you're online and you can hear me and you're here for open forum, you can unmute your microphone. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you introduce yourself to the court, please?
Hi, good morning, members of the board. My name is Denise Zamora. I live outside of Whitney city limits. I'm here today, folks, since you guys are focused on the taxpayers' money. I'm the founder of Paws Place Rescue, an owner of the BioCo, a certified biohazard and crime scene cleanup company here serving Hill County. Since today's meeting is focused on the taxpayer money, I want to be clear. I no support taxpayer funding for a city-run shelter in Whitney. I've seen firsthand how poorly managed shelters can fail the animals and the public. If tax dollars are to be spent, they should go directly to a real solution, one that addresses the root of the crisis, not just a building. The problem? Whitney residents and ranchers are left to deal with dumped and stray animals that are often sick, injured, or carrying diseases. These animals defecate and die in drainage ditches, on roadsides, and near waterways, contaminating our water tables, lakes, and ponds, places where children play and livestock drink. Zoonotic diseases, illnesses that spread from animals to humans pose a significant threat. Strays can transmit parvo, rabies, parasites, and other pathogens to our pets, cattle, and working dogs. A single diseased animal can contaminate a water source, killing livestock and creating devastating economic losses for ranchers. Without a proper system, frustrated property owners are resorting to poisoning, shooting, or otherwise disposing of animals, leading to threats of violence between neighbors. My solution, rather than throwing tax dollars at a shelter, I propose contracting with vetted local rescues and professionals like myself who already have the protocols, expertise, and community support in place. This would be far more cost-effective than building and staffing a city shelter. Through public-private partnerships, we could create a county-managed hotline for stray and dumped animals, partnerships with rescues that can triage and rehome animals responsibly, community education and prevention programs including spay and neuter assistance, biohazard and public health management to safely handle diseased and deceased animals, preventing contamination of water and soil. I'm offering my experience from both animal rescue and biohazard cleanup to ensure that public health, livestock safety, and taxpayer dollars are all protected. And before I end this, myself and the community members of Whitney will start working on the solution tomorrow at 7 p.m. at a brainstorm meeting if you all want to come. This crisis is not going away. We must choose a real solution over a costly and effective shelter. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. You did mention a 7 p.m. meeting. Where would that be at?
It is a local resident home. I would say if you have my number, you can give me a call and I can give you the address. I'm not sure if she wants it all public.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your comments, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else here for open forum? Ms. David, come on up. Want to introduce yourself to the board again?
You got it. Amy Teal, I'm in Whitney. And after listening to yesterday's discussion, I wanted to reiterate a few things. I know with roads, I mean, I've walked for city council, I get it. Everybody's got what they want to get done. But every time people were asking me about the state of the roads or wondering about a pothole or something, my job was to point to the more immediate health hazards that we're dealing with in Whitney before we work on dealing with potholes when it comes to spending people's money. And I was listening yesterday. I mean, we're working on this road by the school, but we've got roads that are literally flooding around the county. Flooding, which makes, even getting emergency vehicles through it impossible. And those become a matter of actual life, liberty, and property when people are flooded and you can't get an ambulance or a fire truck to another location. I know we talked about the extra pool of money that you were talking about using. At this point, I would suggest just giving it back to the people. If it's not going to be directed to a specific high priority spot in the county, then give it back to the people and let them handle their own issues locally. Salaries, I'm still looking at this. I actually looked up the demographic studies. The household salary for Hill County as of 2023 was $63,000. That's household salary, not individual salaries. So as we're looking at salaries for public servants, I would really like for us to take into account what the average resident is making. The average residents don't get cost of living adjustments. They don't get automatic pay raises every year. And they absolutely cannot just take the money from their neighbor if their bills aren't being met. And when you're dealing with a government entity, I know you guys have a lot of other legal powers for getting revenue. But the impact of that becomes pretty evident at the local level when we're dealing with how many foreclosures we're seeing on the bulletin board outside, how many people are getting evicted, how many people can't pay the rent, how many people are losing their water and electricity because they just can't pay those bills. It might only be $20 or $200 of their county taxes that you guys get to use, but that's $20 to $200 that is vital to a lot of residents in the county. And so on that, I'm going to, again, plead for reducing the budget as much as possible so taxes and tax bills can go down. And to reiterate what Denise was talking about, yeah, animal control is a big deal. It's a big heartstring tugging thing, and I agree with Denise that we probably don't need a taxpayer-funded solution. But the county level is a really good opportunity to help collaborate and set up some scaffolding, if you will, of how local organizations can collaborate and try to find voluntary solutions. I would actually ask that you consider, is there like a countywide animal advisory board where people can come and talk about the county level animal problems and things that the county can do as far as education and awareness? That's the kind of thing that would be good to have, that we could send people to if they have complaints about animals. It really is kind of a countywide problem. Animals roam a long way. But other than that, I think that's it for me.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda, action on minutes, invoices, payroll, monthly report, revenue disbursement, and reserve and order reporting.
Got to turn it back.
Second. Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So moving on to number one, discussion interaction, employee wages or status changes. We have no action to take on that because we didn't have any. Number two is also discussion interaction on budget amendments. No action to take on that. So number three is observe annual report of March 31st, 2025 budget report.
I just put this together for historical purposes. We hope to get the June 1 report, but we didn't have some of our June revenues posted, so that will be forthcoming. But this is just a quick run through of what the budget looked like at halfway through the year. If you go to page 3, it kind of gives you your revenue budget, how much we had received through March 31st and through March 31st of the prior year, and the same information there for expenditures. So through March 31st, our revenues were $24,274,180 of our funds that we put forward in the recapitulation, and expenditures at that time were $14,473,471, which of course our tax revenue comes in, December, January, and then we start spending it for the rest of the year. So it looked like we were on track, and after
gave you our revenues and a short summary of what I usually do, just the general fund departments of what their budget was and where they were year to date. Approximately 50% is where you would expect expenditures to be, so. It's just really information. I hope to bring you the June one, but I try to do these every quarter, so if you look through it and have some questions, well, let me know.
So do I have a motion to observe any?
Motion approved.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? All right, now approval or observing or record June's budget report. I'm assuming it's the same as for June, is that correct?
Oh, it's forthcoming. We didn't.
Oh, you didn't get that, I'm
We
sorry.
didn't
So
have
no action.
our figures yet, and so we're gonna
Yes.
bring that at a future date.
Number 5, observe and or record Hill County CPS Treasurer's Report, June 2025. We have a Treasurer's Report brought to us by the Hill County CPS Board. We're able to review this. Everything looks pretty good. I have a motion, and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Number 6, discuss interaction on employment status for CCL visiting judges. Who wants to do this? Susan?
I put this together for y'all. This is just a clarification, which I described in the briefing. Sometime, I'm gonna say prior to 2010, we paid contract labor to everyone. And then we started getting, training that no court recorders and visiting court at law judges. The district judges that visit are paid by the state. So this topic is only for the ones that fill in for the court at law, which honestly has not been very much at all. But anyway, we started paying them as employees as directed by our IRS training conferences. Then in 2018, I guess Williamson County didn't follow suit with that, and they were paying everyone 1099s, and so they fought their suit and won a decision that said, no, you can pay contract labor to visiting judges and court reporters. Well, I don't know, in talking with a visiting judge, they said, well, you know, you have to take into consideration, these are retired people, and they get a 1099. So when you get a 1099, do y'all file a 1099 on your taxes? You might. But you have to file income taxes on that, pay self-employment tax, and all to do this, you know, to assist us when we're needing assistance in the court, at the court level. So I thought that we should take a more conservative approach and go back to paying the visiting judge as an employee, as the IRS describes a public official, an officer, employee, or elected official of government as an employee for income tax withholding purposes, and defines the public official and public officer to mean anyone who exercises significant authority pursuant to public laws. So I don't know what more a district judge does than that, or someone that's sitting in at the court of law level, which
You're not directing his activities. Just like court reporter, you're not directing their activities, they're doing their job.
they come here at our facility, use our microphone, and, you want to bring the court reporter back to it. The court reporters are kind of a different issue. They get paid for their transcripts. They already get 1099s for those. And they want to be 1099 employees so that they can write off their expenses. They're in a whole different
Have you had judges approach you and ask to change this?
Yes. Yes, I
Well, you
have.
still have to make it over a certain amount for that, don't you?
$600.
I know, yeah.
Right. So, anyway, if we go to the employee, the point that was taken was, that perhaps, you don't want to fall that way on your income tax. You might be limiting yourself to some officials that could serve us very well, by paying them as a contractor. The employee status is just a more conservative approach. For a day's pay, that's $28. We paid no visiting court at law judges this year. I just think the goodwill and having the broad spectrum of people to reach out to, that should be a consideration.
So what's the quantum in, the visiting judges, do you have an idea? I mean, you gotta know. How many judges visit?
Last year we paid $1,000, I think $1,070. Like this year we paid $0. It's only for the court at law.
So what does that create on our end from an administrative standpoint?
They're just gonna be a W-2 like you.
Don't you get to withhold taxes and pay those in and do all that? I mean,
It's just a W-2.
Yeah, it's just like, it's nothing extra. We do that for 200 people, so.
I think that it's kind of important, or the thing that I'm looking at is the IRS code that defines what that public official, public officer is. Anyone who exercises significant authority pursuant to public laws. Judge.
I think there's a couple of things about the request that was brought in this over the weekend. Number one, the district court has sued the state. You guys don't pay for that. State of Texas pays for that. And while I'm not required to, what I do is I take many cases out of the county court of law that they were to be conflicted so that the county doesn't have to pay for that. I can take it. But you guys know it's a small county. We've all met. We've all bumped into each other in Walmart. And sometimes there's times where a case signed to the county court of law, I'm conflicted too because of previous service, whatever it may be. The other issue that we're not talking about yet comes down to a very ugly incident that happened in Hill County last year, and that was a contract employee who was assaulted in our courthouse and sustained serious bodily injury, damage, loss, and eye, everything. That being said, we had issues because of the classification of that individual as a contractor, whether they public servant or not, and it became very difficult to hold particular defendants accountable because of that classification. I would posit to you, while there's no additional work from what I've heard from Mrs. Swilling, to simply classify these visiting judges a few times you need them. You heard last year $1,000 for the whole year.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. If you classify them as employees, that helps us clarify one issue. If there's unfortunately ever another ugly incident like that, I think it would be easier going forward with our insurance company to go, hey, this was an employee that was harmed on company time. So that's my 10 cents. Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem with it being W-2. I mean, it does make it, I think it makes it easier for them to file their taxes, not having to deal with a 1099. The person who's requesting this has served the county in a distinguished manner and I think deserves an accommodation if that's his request.
We've got a motion approving adopting IRS employee status for the district court law judges. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Number 7, observing or record fiscal year 26-27 Hill County Community Service Correction Department budget. We got this budget from CSCD, and it was labeled 26-27. I'm thinking that might have been an error. CSCD. This is what he did turn into the state as well. We are only required to observe and record this document, so I don't think it's gonna affect us at all. But we might probably.
Should be a 2-year budget.
Two-year budget?
2 years
2 years.
preliminary. We won't hold a hearing on it until in August later to approve that budget. But yes, sir, you are 100% correct. Once we approve that budget, it's simple observe and record. But that is for the biennium, how their budget's set up.
Yeah.
The CSDD is such a weird operation, not quite state, not quite county.
Approval to record, observe and record.
Make a motion to, just, whatever.
I got a motion. Second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Next is observe and record Prairie Lands Groundwater Conservation District fiscal year 24 annual report. This came in. They're required to give us this report to observe and record every year.
Make a motion.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. So discussion and or action on an agreement between Hood County, Texas and Schuberg of Polk Inc. for professional services. This is number 9 on the agenda. This is going to be a contract in reference to the generator that we are doing. Sergeant Jackson, do you have anything to input on this? I know it's required.
It's just a requirement, we don't anticipate using them. We have to have an engineer on file for the hazard mitigation grant. So if FEMA comes back and says, is this generator spec, then that's, the engineer can come back and say, yes, no, no. But as of right now, the state is saying we don't need them, it's just a requirement to have one on file.
I reviewed it and they didn't they make a couple of changes for us?
They complied with every request you had.
So has been reviewed and, yes, it's been reviewed by our council. I have a motion. Second. And a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Discussion and action on interlocal agreement between the Regional Public Defender's Office, Local Government Corporation, and Day County, Texas. This is with the RTS workstations.
Oh, that's me.
Oh,
didn't make it.
I'm sorry, I skipped number 10.
Oh.
My bad. Approval of RTS workstation lease agreement between DPS and Doe County.
Right now we have one workstation leased. I'm sorry, I'm really good on here.
That's okay.
Anyway, and they give us 5. We have one leased, and then we're wanting another one. I think it's 350. I don't remember. 359. Yeah.
359.
Actually, they give us 6, and then we lease 1. Sorry. But this would be for Liz's desk. She's the only one that doesn't have, besides myself, that doesn't have an RTS workstation. And the beginning of July 1st, all dealers have to use Web Dealer now. Yeah, like it's mandated. You can't get around. So that's that much more that we have to end up doing. So, and for $359, and at the end of September, they will check our September. They'll check our numbers and see if we can actually qualify for it to be free. But I won't know until then.
So it's $359 a year.
A whole year.
A whole year.
Yeah.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Thank
Any
y'all.
discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Alright, now, discuss interaction on the interlocal agreement between the Regional Public Defender's Office, Local Government Corporation, Cook County. Thanks. Alright, Mr. Holmes, did you review this interlocal agreement?
Is that for capital? capital punishment case, if we have one, and we do have a pro death penalty VA, I believe. They'll cost more than $1 million, so this is kind of an insurance policy for us. I think we should keep moving.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Like 13,000 a year or whatever.
Well, 12,395. Got a motion and a second, any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
One more small point about that is, a defense attorney has to be certified by the state to try a capital punishment case, and they're few and far between in these parts, so, we do have them, we will be likely to bring somebody in to be certified.
All right, number 12, discuss interaction on mutual aid agreement between Hill County and Hillsborough ISD. Sheriff, is this school safety? What number is that?
12.
Oh, no, this is not, this is between us two, so they can use the Hill County exhibits. We have a motion, second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Discuss our action, purchase various meeting equipment for Hill County Sheriff's Office over $5,000.
Yeah, Judge, that's basically the items that were discussed in the last board, security equipment and bulletproof vests, rifles, flashlights, breaching tools. The property room audit, everything has already been separated, POs have been issued, just, guess there was some sort of miscommunication, or maybe I misunderstood, but they had ordered several of those items, so just asking, you already were aware of that money that was transferred over for those items, the court was aware, just asking that you go ahead and bless that so that they can be official.
So, is this in your budget?
It was given to us
Like a
last
budget
quarter.
amendment for it last quarter.
Last court, we moved it, there was the funds from, the district clerk that were collected, that were unbudgeted, and then there were the funds from our BSO, that were misallocated to, and they were not gonna be utilized, so those two funds went to these, correct. So it was, it wasn't any extra money, it was just money that was not allocated, to any particular spot.
It really helped out with the
They got a lot done with that, actually. So, motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Number 14, discuss any action regarding the purchase and installation of flooring for the treasurer's office from A. Sanchez Remodeling in the amount of $7,488. This is, for me, we had some repairs that needed to be done in the treasurer's office. We already got the drywall done, it was fairly inexpensive to patch some of the water damage from past issues we've had in the courthouse. This is kind of building on that. It is over the $5,000 limit, so I brought it to the court, get it approved for her floors to be redone. We're going to lay down some vinyl over top, so we're not getting rid of her floors. They'll still be there if anybody ever 100 years from now wants to refinish them. But I can't find a guy that will refinish them for anywhere near reason. So this is the next option. Motion is second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion. Discuss interaction on participating in the new national opioid settlement. Mr. Holmes?
There, sheet of paper that.
Yes, sir.
Is that Kroger? Oh, no, this is, we received this, I would recommend to the court that we participate in all these opioid settlements. This is adding manufacturing Divior, Mylon Sun, and Zydus, the manufacturers of certain opioid drugs that have reached settlements with the state, and this is for us to participate in those settlements.
Okay, motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries.
We'll need to return that to
Okay. Number 16, discuss and/or action on Hill County purchasing and environment policies and procedures. Commissioner?
It seems to be confusing for a lot of people. I thought we eliminated the commissioners from there, but the sheriff seems to have trouble with it. And I'm assuming you will if you have something major going in the courthouse, if your heating system dies down there. That would cost more than $5,000 to fix it. And I don't think the people stay in the courthouse for 4 or 5 weeks till you get an estimate, get it approved, and get it fixed. So I think the whole policy needs to just be trashed and move on. That's my recommendation.
Okay. There's quite a few grants that hand job this. So I think that might take some more discussion, maybe a workshop before we completely just got rid of it altogether, in my opinion. I do know, I was speaking with Judge Lewis, because he's done this for a bit longer than I have, and he did advise me that there were quite a few grants that are based on us having this policy and procedure in place.
Yeah, we have to have this in place to get certain grants.
Right. Now, can you modify it? Maybe so. But I believe it's modifiable. I just don't think we need to just scrap it.
Well, I just know it's confusing, and I thought the commissioners were left out. But they went on, we
On
were,
1.4.
well, I ran across this past week, that we went on that, so.
If it's in your budget.
I know it's there, but certain people do not read it that way.
What says it, right?
Well, under 3.1, it says no service or item can be paid for without sufficient funds available in the applicable major category budget. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, I didn't write this. We probably just need to have a workshop on it and get it down to a usable form for us.
I'd like to sit down and discuss it. I do agree with the commissioners in the fact that it's not well understood. Now, whose fault is that? I don't know. Depends, it depends on if we read it and gave it the due diligence it deserves, but obviously it's something we need to talk about because it's been a point of interest lately. So I would like us to go ahead and maybe have a workshop next time. We'll table it this time, we'll set up a workshop, discuss it in depth. Is that your counsel?
Yeah, and, another issue, another point is, I think what brought this about was it was going to be a timing issue, or Commissioner Blake was going to have to wait until we had another meeting to get it approved, and things needed to move faster than that. We can always have a call meeting, if we need to move things on faster, like we did for Commissioner Holcomb the other day, to get his road project approved, so.
And I do believe that we're gonna see call meetings more often when the new 3 business days, 72 hours statute hits. I think we're gonna see a lot of calls meetings, unfortunately, just because of the timing.
September 1, the purchasing limit goes up to 100,000, so that's another, it'll be needing amended anyway at that time.
Right. So if we hold this workshop next Commissioners Court, and can we amend it to 100,000 in preparation, or do we have to do it again?
It would have to be effective September.
Or we can make it effective September? Okay. I guess I should pass it. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and table that, make a workshop out of it. All right, number 17, discuss and/or action on bids received for the 2006 F-150, VIN number ending in 2157 for Hill County Commissioners Court Precinct Number 1.
Make a motion, we accept the bid from Christopher Barnes for $1,651. This was published in the paper, for 3 weeks. This is the only bid we received, so I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion, have a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I do have a question.
Yes,
Who's sending the money for that?
Christopher Barnes.
Okay. Do we need to send an invoice?
We need to, he's left a telephone number on here.
I'll get with you and Susan about how that's gonna unfold.
Okay, thank you. Who's that additional?
Yeah. Number 18, public hearing on cancellation of the M. Mata subdivision in Hill County. Is anybody here for a public hearing on that cancellation of said subdivision?
Go back.
Anybody online?
So just,
What's the backstory?
Well, we're gonna get there.
Just
Close the public hearing, number 19, discussion and or take action on canceling the entirety of the Mata subdivision. Go ahead.
so we received this came through Commissioner Hoffman's precinct, this is outside of Mount Palm. We received a request from a surveyor to cancel a road or a portion of a road that doesn't exist in the middle of a pasture. Apparently there's a real estate deal going through with regard to this. They asked us to cancel that road. I went down and studied this subdivision plat. It was filed in 1896. I had solicited the help of County Clerk Nicole Tanner to help me try to identify property owners, the way we could overlay the plat with our current, like appraisal map. We couldn't really figure it out. It has been advertised as required by law for 3 consecutive editions of the Reporter newspaper. I just felt like it would be easier to cancel the entire subdivision. I looked at several deeds around where this piece of property is. They've all converted their legal descriptions to meets and bounds from surveys that they've had performed. They're not selling these by the lot number in this subdivision anymore, so I would recommend that we cancel the M-Lot subdivision because it really makes much sense at this point.
The Pencil District doesn't even have this subdivision listed as it's not even a named subdivision in their system. I don't know what to do.
I'll make a motion.
Motion second, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion. Number 21, discussion and or action on minor plat for Montgomery Meadows Phase 1. All right, so this is,
That one's mine.
yep.
County Road 2302.
Yes, sir, north, yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a piece of property that the people had sold in their property. And there is, I guess they're selling them the land, and it says to that property. That's what I think.
Yes, sir.
And I make a motion to approve.
Second. Have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Which one was the one? All right, discussing or action on minor plat for Trojan Estates subdivision.
That's the one that's on 4114.
Yes, sir.
That's the one that I don't really, doesn't have anything to do with the county road, it's on the market, so.
Yes, sir.
The state was there for that one.
And they didn't have any objections that I recall.
I make a motion to
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Discuss interaction on preliminary plat on the Smith edition. Smith edition is Henry 1424. This is gonna be yours, Justin. And this is a preliminary plat.
That's what we put that away into this.
Yes. Look right there.
Make a motion to proceed.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Alright, I'm gonna move to 25. We need to take a quick recess before we go into budget workshops? Yes, we do, alright. We're gonna take a quick,
Did you do Southern?
oh, I'm sorry. There's gonna be no action on Southerly. They weren't able to get all their documents in on time. So we'll take a 10-minute recess real quick.
Can I show you this budget, our flood budget, right quick? before we
Oh, yeah,
do it? These are what we're collecting, this is an assembled flood budget, I'll put it up here on the table. And so, we have 6 that are almost complete, plus we have some things down in the basement. But these, this is an example of the N95 mask. The list was updated a little bit, so I think everyone has the correct thing. These were the cleaning pads, clothespins, trash bags, heavy-duty trash bags. People wonder about candy wipes. That was the old thing, but I guess they're not terry, but they're they can be reused, and I'm sure to prevent mold and so forth. It's material. Clothespins, insect repellent, gloves. You know, your laundry gloves and then your work gloves.
I can't imagine mosquito.
I can't really. This one has Dawn, Mr. Clean, whatever, some laundry detergent. But anyway, we were gonna put this one down in the basement for a complete one. A few people have brought some things that aren't specifically on the list, so I don't know what I'll maybe leave them for them to retrieve them. We can't. You know, they take these, if you, for storage purposes, the churches, you know, they have them with the lid and they stack them, so they have to fit their description. But anyway,
How many of those do you have?
we're just trying to get together what we want, but if someone wants to, like if there's a few items that we just need to fill up, if y'all want to get those, if you want to just let me know that you want to be one of those people, then I can tell you this is what I need to finish, you know, out X number of budgets.
Do we have 10 of those? Do we have 20 of those?
Well, I have 6 buckets that are 99% complete, plus I have some extra ones, so I think we'll have 10 or 11 to send.
If someone wanted to just give money and let somebody else do the shopping, is that an option?
That is, I'd probably just let you make it out to the church or something.
Okay.
And let them do it, I don't want to really be personally involved, but.
Okay.
But the church is willing to, the 2 different churches I'm working with are willing to do that as well, so.
The response has been tremendous.
Good.
Yeah, David's church here in town, that's where ours will ultimately go to.
We've already sent 100 buckets to San Saba, and when I was at church for a meeting last night, I think we have another put in storage. So, it's really good.
So it's important to have them on hand when the disaster hits so that they can be immediately taken to the.
All right. Well, let's go into recess right now, about 10 minutes, and we'll be right back.
Recording stopped.
I don't mean to, I swear. I was looking at Scott. Oh, you were looking
I didn't see what you paid from the playground stuff.
Oh, it's very, yeah. It's very, it's very.
Well,
I didn't do all that. No, I didn't give it for work later.
Okay. We're gonna have court next week, I think.
Yeah, sure.
so what direction from town is it your beach house? Toward Jamaica Beach or more toward the Ball Bar or? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, it should be. I guess, it's supposed to rain.
My sister sent a text of article about moving forward and getting flushing bacteria.
These are great. There's only 4 of them.
I remember that was, I remember when I first heard
These
that.
two are
The red, is getting to kill you.
Because for the, I think it's in there. I think I say.
Now, that is something that's top of mind nowadays after what happened.
I saw a house.
What did you call that?
Actually, you never see that street concert, man. You're hanging out, what would it cost? I don't know, surely that water.
That's the AR.
Oh, it's got a, yeah,
It's gotta be pretty fun.
yeah. But outside of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I got it from.
Well, no, I mean, that's the same.
No, my wife has told me.
It's not safe. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, my contacts are 250, and so they need to be at lower bidding so I can see. Because my contacts actually are so good. But he said, where did you start with your one in and one out? I said, oh no. No, 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 I would.
The phone number is to take things out of the mail.
Can you just forward that to me if I'm not on here?
Yeah.
David, did anything ever happen with 3111?
I'm about to file suit.
Okay. Still waiting on, Leon.
Yeah, I did. Did you see the email that Jennifer mentioned?
Still waiting on that IRS?
Yes.
So
That's not a surprise.
You know, they said they were asking for a appraisal. Surely they will appraise that thing before we get it out.
I have no meaning. Is the structure even livable?
No, it's not. Every room, the kitchen, the washroom, the bathroom, it's got holes in the ceiling, no windows and some of it.
And what is how big is it? 30 acres?
Yeah, maybe. And
I don't know. It's a lot, but market just come out over here about today.
Why did you do that?
It's on the market for 85,000.
No, I'm talking about hers. Yeah, that's her. I was like, really? That's wrong. That is not right.
We're gonna owe him more, so. You got a bargain shop for the buckets, the lids are almost as much as the buckets. Yeah, they said buckets, yes, and I'm not just gonna go. Lids sold some buckets. I got them, and I ordered six buckets.
Yeah, I thought that no, I'll follow up on that. I had not given that. That's what they close up. Oh, that'd be the first one.
Well, I don't know, Southern Chip Sales. Round road, but I understand that, you know, come back to them, right, sugar, two silver, two salt. It's all right. And, I've got that donation, he has two things, he never saw it,
I'm looking to see if I can have
Not yet.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure she requested it.
And to be fair, I didn't really expect it to be immediate, because it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I copied, I just wanted to make sure, since it did originate from the office.
Right,
So David said it should come from the judge's inspector.
That was a racial council on
That's fine. That's fine.
making all these payroll companies and shit. That's the one that the agency chatted about. She said, run me again. I said, I can understand that.
Crazy times. You're on it.
Where the Methodist Church, Colorado Street, it's just a big
There you go.
progress.
All right, we're gonna be back. Begin our budget workshop on the agenda. We did yesterday ask about the appraisal district budget and it being presented, so we're gonna go ahead and have Mr. McKibben come in and go ahead and present that to us. Go ahead, Steph. How are you?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing? Good to see y'all. I've been here in a couple of years. Always good to be back.
Welcome back.
We have a budget this year of $2,772,840. It has a 6.8% increase. We have a few items. I don't know if y'all received. All of y'all have a copy of the budget, but we try to set it up in a way where it has anything that increased dramatically or decreased. We usually kind of highlight those for you. It has a supporting schedule in it that tells what each line item covers. Basically, the highlights of the increases this year was there was some legislation that was passed this last session that requires homesteads to be reviewed every 5 years. So appraisal districts have to notify property owners that have a homestead, get them to verify it. A lot of districts have been outsourced, and we're trying to do it in-house to save money. There was new legislation that was passed for online forms we have to put on our website, so that cost programming and additional. There's some software, it's called Matic software, it enhances streamline. It's going to streamline work man hours and efficiency. It's used in appraisal, also during protests where we do like comparisons and stuff. And new legislation that requires additional staff training. We had to replace 3 office computers. Our insurance is expected to increase again. We drove up to kind of how we're doing our budget now, and we don't know what insurance rates are going to do. Our fiscal year starts in January, so we can't get insurance rates until we're within 60 days out. So after November 1st is when we get insurance rates, so we have to kind of estimate it. It's been going up each year, so we kind of look at the historic increases of it, kind of estimate that the same. Then we have an AC unit that's acting up. It's one of the original units we had back from 2002. I'm hoping it lasts the rest of this year and gets into next year. But that's kind of the main increases in our budget. Legislature adds more onto us, but will tell us how to fund it. So,
What was the total budget?
it's $2,772,840. It's a 6.8% increase, which is $178,070 increase over last year's. We typically keep a streamlined budget. We don't have any annual fluff or anything like that in it. Any money that we have left over, we return to the entities. Actually, a few years back, we sent one of the superintendents called and was asking, hey, what's the check for? So I thought, that's some leftover money we had. He was real surprised. He said, he has it in the budget, he's going to spend it. We don't operate that way. If we have money left over, we kind of try to be as conservative as we can. So.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is our portion of that? How much will we be billed out of that, 2.7?
Well, there's an allocation schedule that was sent to you. It's probably going to change some. This shows the county's difference was $7,819 for the county and then $1,159 in the lateral road fund.
So add that to the current
Yes, sir.
quarter or per year?
That's per year.
So 7, 8, 19 for the county and the lateral road is how much?
So $1,159.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just didn't have a copy.
So it's about $9,000 total.
Okay.
Now that's probably going to change because these are having to go off the 2024 levies because the tax rates haven't been set for 2025 yet. So it says an estimate when the final is calculated once 2025 levies are set, when all the taxing entities have adopted the tax rates. Now there's a constitutional amendment I'm sure y'all have heard about where they're talking about increasing the person's homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000. and the over 65 from 10,000 up to 60,000 through the school districts. Y'all's optional stays the same, but it affects the school districts, which means it's gonna lower their taxable value, which might shift some of this over to non-school districts, the cities and,
Well, it's effective this tax year, or? is
it's
that
effective this tax year, yes, sir.
So you mean if it goes in November, is approved, what they do is something like that, where people pay their taxes?
Yes, sir, they did this back in, the last session, they went from 40,000 up to 100,000. We just certified the values at the 100,000 and it passed, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like 90%, so everybody voted to, get a tax cut, so we'll certify them with $140,000 schools this year again. And if it doesn't pass, we have to go in and supplement. If we didn't certify with 140 and it passes, then we have to go in and supplement anyway, so we're pretty confident it's probably gonna pass. I think they also have taxable value this year, the net taxable, after the freeze adjusted, is going up, I think around 470 million. Hey, y'all are 4 point. I looked at it before I left the drive over, I forgot. I believe it's 4.32 billion taxable last year, and it's up to 4.8 this year.
All right, any questions?
Me? So we'll have this paper.
So what I'd like to do is, next Commissioners Court, I'll have this budget on the agenda for, observer record. We'll get see a copy of it. I believe it was emailed to me. It was emailed to the old Deborah's email address, that's the reason.
Oh.
We haven't,
Okay.
got it out, but we'll get it.
Okay.
Get it done.
We'll make sure we have it.
Yes, sir. And I believe, Ms. Christie was communicating with this board, so that an email came from, so.
Okay.
But we'll streamline our communication
Okay.
process. That's been a bumpy road for everything so far,
Right.
getting on communication now.
That's a little tricky.
Because it switches.
So, yeah, we can talk about that. I have a couple of questions about district.
Okay. Yeah. It does make it a little difficult with their fiscal year being completely different from our fiscal year.
Is that statutory?
And I'm not sure if it's statutory, I think all appraisal districts are January when they were formed back in the early 80s. I don't know that any appraisal district has one that's not a January to December fiscal year.
It makes sense for tax. It shouldn't throw us off and delay everything on our budget. We can't really line up until we get that.
Yeah, we run across some of the same stuff. Commissioners, for example, haven't adopted one. What's going to do to you?
All right. Well, thank you very much. sir.
Yeah, appreciate y'all listening to me. If you have any other questions, anytime, feel free to give me a
Thank
call.
you.
Sounds like a
Have a nice
city.
day. Bye.
Judge Tom. Just, he's precinct 1. Reminder.
Good, gentlemen. That time of year. All right. So as all you know, I know we have quite a few people listening in tonight. My name is Trey Tom. I'm the Justice of the Peace Precinct 1 here in Cook County. Before I dive into the proposal, I'd like to just speak on a few duties of the Justice of the Peace. I know there's sometimes this confusion and misunderstanding as to what a JP actually does. I do know a lot of people sometimes think we're somehow law enforcement, and that's not true at all. We're actually a trial court, and so we don't have any sort of law enforcement function at all. Some of the things that we do here in our court are going to be Class C criminal offenses. We have original jurisdiction over those. That means it has to come to us before it can go anywhere else. Some other things we do have jurisdiction over are civil damages up to $20,000. We listen to eviction cases. We have debt claims. We also do death inquests, so we have to go out and figure out how it is, or the cause of death of somebody who wasn't under the care of a physician. We also have administrative hearings, such as occupational license hearings, as well as licensed carrier hearings. So we do have a broad spectrum of things that we have jurisdiction over and that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So I would like to go over my proposal that kind of highlights a lot of those responsibilities that we carry, as well as how we're responsibly using the taxpayers' money and giving them the service that they deserve. The first thing I want to dive into are going to be our salaries. I'm not asking anything different for myself. As far as my court clerk position, Caitlin's worked for me for 2 years now, I think. She's an absolute rock star. She handles she's come in as a brand new clerk, handles everything that I've asked her to handle. There's no challenge she hasn't met. She learns very quickly. And in my office, I mandate 16 hours a year they have to do for continuing education. And she is always, without me having to prompt her to do it, always done it. In fact, she's gone out and she's gone above and beyond what I've asked her to do. And she's obtained her civil clerk's license through our training organization. And that simply means that our training organization, who oversees the judges and the clerks at the JP level, have come out and said she has satisfied the requirements for us that shows that she has in-depth knowledge in this certain area. She's currently working on her criminal clerk's license that I imagine she'll have before the end of this year. And then next year she's told me she's going to get her master clerk's license. So she's, like I said, just been an absolute rock star for me in the office. That being said, there's only so much you can do in an 8-hour day. No matter how good she is, there's only so much work that an outstanding employee like her can do. And the first thing I want to touch on is the increase in caseload that I've seen. Last year we were up significantly. I didn't pull those numbers, but this year, and these numbers were pulled yesterday, I'm seeing an increase in caseload in my court specifically by 20%. And that shouldn't come to a shock to anybody. It's a small taste of what you guys had to sign for new development coming into the county. Hill County is a very popular place for people to pour into right now. We're sandwiched between Waco and DFW. Those people still want those city jobs sometimes, but then they want to come home and have a slice of land to themselves. Well, virtue of our location, they like to pick Hill County. And when you have that amount of people coming into Hill County, you're going to have a demand for higher public services such as the JP Court. So that is part of the reason why I am also asking for an additional employee. I asked last year because of the caseload increases we're seeing again. I saw a 20% jump from last year's item, as well as I've now taken over the magistration duties for Hill County. So I set bonds, emergency protective orders, bond conditions, all those things. And happy to do it. I love that part of the job, but it was something that I didn't anticipate was the back end of all that. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into that, and that does fall on my clerk. And I'm sure Judge Brassett can tell you, those responsibilities aren't just, go to jail, look at the PC affidavit, set a bond, maybe a protective order or something, leave. No, there's a waterfall of paperwork, especially when you start getting into protective orders and bond conditions that need to be created, entered, and kept. So if Caitlin's working on those kinds of things, we still have that 20% more cases we got to deal with over here. Now she can't do it because she's doing the magistration. I think it's imperative because my office really does need a second person to come in and alleviate some of that burden that we have with the caseload. Now, I do want this to benefit the county as a whole. So I do propose that if you can give me this additional clerk, that it be with the understanding that yes, they report to the JP1 clerk or JP1 court, and that I'll sign their timesheet and it comes out of my budget. But with the understanding that any of the other JP courts can call at any time they need. My clerk went on vacation, my clerk is sick, family emergency, whatever it is. If they have a hole, they have a need, that second position will be shared among the courts and be able to alleviate any issue that another JP court has. I think that would be the best bang for the buck for the taxpayer, and I think it would help out all 4 courts, not just mine. So that's why you're gonna see, I have asked for a second position. Now, as far as the salary goes, this is a little bit of wishful thinking on my end. I'm really hoping I can get some rock star, super qualified person to come in. Odds are, that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna have to train someone fresh and new. Not a problem, done that twice. But I am asking for a court clerk 2 salary in case I do end up getting lucky and getting someone qualified. I'd be able to compensate them for what they're worth. Now, if that doesn't happen, the very next commissioner's court, if I hire a clerk 1, the very next commissioner's court, I will come back, notify you guys, and let you know that, hey, that money needs to be returned because it didn't get used. So that'll cover that part. Training and mileage. I'm not asking for anything new because I think we've foreseen enough in the past that we have enough money to cover this year. So I'm not going to ask for any increase there.
So you don't need an increase for your new hire? Training?
No, it shouldn't be this year. There's a lot of things that are going online, and I encourage my employees to do that, is to train online as much as we can. Even if that's not an option, I think we're going to have enough there that it's going to cover the mileage and the training that we would see an increase for a second person. So, you'll see an increase in the magistration stipend. For me, the only reason that is because I took over magistration January 1. So it was the middle of the budget cycle, so I got some of that magistration money, and JP2, who did it up to January 1, had the rest of it. And all I'm asking is, since I'm doing it full time, the money that was in JP2 just get moved over to my budget. That way I have a full stipend for this upcoming year. Let's see, also, I did touch on how Caitlin does the magistration back end. That's a duty specific only to her. There is no other court clerk in this county that does that duty. Now, that also entails she has to get special training because she is now dealing with criminal backgrounds. You have to be specially certified to do that. Not anyone can just look at those. Also, you have to have the special knowledge on how to handle that paperwork and generate those kinds of documents. So those are special requirements and duties that she has to do that I think it's only fair that we compensate her for doing it. Because like I said, no other clerk in the county does it. Only her. So I'm asking the court, give her a stipend of $3,500 to compensate her for not only the extra time, but all the specialized knowledge she has to have to be able to perform those functions. When it comes down to the Social Security, retirement, and all that, I'm going to defer to Susan and any others because I wasn't sure what to put there. So, whatever your judgment is on that. Dues and memberships, bonds and insurance. We did have an email go out about an increase that we're expecting in bonds. The number that I had submitted earlier was incorrect. I failed to compensate for that. It is going to be reflective of if you grant that second position plus the increase. I think the new number should be about 275. Again, I'm going to defer to whatever Susan, we find out what the final numbers are on bonds, but I believe it'll be around somewhere around 275. So I'm asking for an increase there. Now, I'm going to take a break from the increase for a second. I would actually want to give you back money. In my telephone line item, it's high from last year. We moved from a regular phone line to voice over. It was a whole new carrier. We went from, I forgot who we had, but then we moved to AT&T. We weren't sure what it was going to be. So we had budgeted for 28. I would like to give 800 back to you and drop it down to 2,000. I think that's going to be more than enough, and those monies can be used elsewhere as needed. But I would like to point that out. And then also I'd like to to touch on the JP Technology Equipment Fund. Since I've been in office, we've never actually received any money in that line item. It's my understanding through the state that that money is supposed to go to the court and it'd be used at the discretion of the presiding judge. So I would ask this commission to please, whatever we have to do to get that money back dispersed to all 4 JP courts. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, Judge. I would like to see that line item be fixed. That way we can use those as necessary. Yeah.
So, by law, the JP Tech Fund and the JP Security Fund are not to be touched by anybody but the JP. Traditionally, they have been transferred to other places without permission from the city. I think it would be a wise conversation to have with those judges as to where those funds are going to go. As far as, for instance, the justice of peace that's in the courthouse, if he is okay with transferring his IT and his security fund out because he's in the courthouse utilizing those things, maybe so. That might be a good conversation. But as far as the guys that are outlying, we're not providing them security. And, now there may be an argument as to IT, if we do send IT to them. But again, those funds by law, now there is no teeth in the law, but by law, those funds are designated. Yes, ma'am.
I thought they were under discretion of the commissioner's court.
I don't believe so.
Not the way I read it.
I don't know, I'll look at that again, but we have been transferring money every year to the general fund for use of the Odyssey system, all the support and programs that we have. We've been utilizing the funds, I hope not improperly, but to our knowledge, that was how they had been used in the past, so.
And I'm not alleging that. I would just at least like to have a conversation about it since it really is supposed to go to JP. And if it's best used where we still give it to the general fund because there is Odyssey and everything else we have to maintenance, more than happy to do that. I would just like to have a conversation.
Yes.
Is that a percentage or is that a flat rate?
Each citation that is paid, a portion of that citation goes to each one of these funds.
Percentage.
Correct. And so, I don't even know this percentage, it's dollar amount.
It used to be $4.
You can see it.
And we're not talking about an astronomical amount of money. So it may not even, I don't know if it's even worth it, but I do think just doing things the correct way, we should maybe pull it down and make sure that we are.
But that'll more or less cover what the foreseeable needs for the upcoming budget year for my office. One thing I would like to advocate for that does directly relate to Precinct 1 is the roof on the Precinct 1 building, specifically my building. I know the commissioners out there and stuff. We've noticed hail damage, some holes and things in the roof where we've had to contend with leaks coming through the ceiling and in various places. There are some offices in there that have a hard ceiling, not a drop ceiling with tiles. Just looking at all the other leaks that are up there, I think there's probably some that aren't being seen just because of that hard ceiling. The water hasn't made its way through. So in your considerations for this upcoming year, I would ask that you allocate funds. That way we can address some of the leaks that are in that roof. That way they can be fixed and we can move on from it.
Is that one of the insurance deals?
Please, I sent that, I sent it to Shane, but I didn't think to send it to you. I'll send the estimate. And what they did at the jail, someone came in and made temporary repairs for us. Is that needed?
I think we're looking at those options right now. I just wanted to bring it up, just to keep it on everyone's mind. I do believe we're pursuing it.
We do have some insurance for that roof, but also, as I mentioned yesterday, the company that I've contacted about monitoring our roofs has also gone and looked at it, giving us a bid on a repair option. Obviously, they also gave us a replace option. I'm looking more towards the repair option. And it is repairing the roof over the offices. not over the shop area. So,
But other than that, I'm open to any questions from the panel.
there's a question for the judge?
All right, well, I appreciate the time.
Don't grab the building, fair enough.
Come and try that.
He's right across the parking lot.
Yeah, but we know that.
All right. Okay. So we take number 2.
For the record, I'm Mark Hammond, I recently appointed Day2 back in January. I did make a submission to the judge for you guys regarding the budget. Certainly, this being the first budget workshop that I've been a part of in Gill County, try to be fiscally responsible and all those things. I don't have anything to add or change a whole lot. I'll go over a couple of those briefly. I did not submit any salary changes as you guys are already engaged in those conversations through your survey and all those things.
So you're not taking your salary from 66 to 60?
No, sir. I'll leave it to you guys. You guys are already engaged in that. I would support any change that you guys see fit, where if it matches the size and scope, just like what I added in there. The size and scope of the work compared to other counties, obviously being fiscally responsible with our tax base. The only changes that I submitted prior to my appointment, Judge Brazel submitted an increase in, I think, supplies and one of the other line items in preparation for what occurred. So in doing a changeover of judges, so to speak, there's some added cost that comes with that. It's changing names of mail outs and, courtesy cards. You change the name on everything that the office has. So there's some incurred costs with that. So appropriately, since he foresaw that and you guys approved it, I went to a small decrease, about $1,500. Appropriately, we got those things taken care of and incoming. I don't foresee any changes, hopefully, but again, I'm into this 6 months, so something may be over the horizon I've never seen before. But I do try to lean on the current judges, and obviously Judge Brazel.
You did not really increase them a whole lot.
No, sir. No, the only increases, the next line item, the postage, and everybody knows postage is going up. Our postage usage, is typically more, because I think there's only one other office in the county that probably does more postage than we do, just by sheer volume. So that's kind of hard to calculate, but I just kind of only added about $50 to that, just looking, and also submitted what we're spending currently. I don't know if you guys have that, but it just kind of tells you where we're at. We keep track of what we're spending versus what we're supposed to spend. And so, we're anticipating, obviously, with the new changes, it going up just a little bit. Again, that's hard to calculate because it's based on what business comes through the office. And so, my clerks are really good at kind of staying on top of it and understanding that. So we did discuss that increase. If we undershot it a little bit, there's a miscellaneous fund that I'm asking to stay the same. We haven't touched that in years past. I don't know if Brazel ever did, but I think it's only about a $250 line item, but it should cover, any minimal overage for others. And of course, we don't anticipate a large one. But also in the machine and equipment room, just inflation on our copy machine that we pay by the copy for. Just to, kind of anticipate a little bit of change there. The other decrease, I believe, was in training. I think Judge Brazel had a training and mileage reimbursement. He saw an increase in that, foresaw the training that comes with the appointment of a new judge. Also, I'm not asking for much of a change in that, or no change in some of that, because when he left, he also took one of the clerks, so I had to hire a new clerk. So in addition to my training, I'm now obviously, we're on the hook for kind of making sure our clerks stay trained, and as Judge Chaton was mentioning, we try to make sure our employees are trained well. It equates to better service to our constituents, and obviously, a better degree of service overall in the office. I kind of wanted to leave that the same, but due to the timing of the appointment in January, we kind of missed some of the initial training for me personally. So I've got to we went at it from the back end. So I've taken, 2 phases of the initial judge training, that were secondary. So I've got to go back and take the first in this next fiscal year. So it overlaps a little bit. So that's why there's not a change there. But overall, that's about it. I think it's the overall operating change, I think that with this high, I think it's about $1,200. I think your sheet probably says $1,400, but my math didn't math, never was typing. So, but overall operating, I came down because you guys, foresaw what happened this year, the extra training changes. So, pretty simple. Any questions? Thank you guys.
All right. Mr. Holmes?
Good morning. Judge Brazel asked me to explain one thing to y'all with regard to my salary, and that will also apply to Judge Crane's salary, and then also for Mr. Pratt and Judge Lewis's salaries. Senate Bill 293 was, I believe, literally the last piece of legislation that the 89th legislature acted on before it adjourned. It addressed judicial pay, which Mr. Pratt and I, our salaries are tied to judicial pay. The state raised what they refer to as the benchmark salary of a district judge from $140,000 to $175,000 a year. So Judge Lewis will step into a nice raise right as he begins his career as a district judge. And then our salaries we have 4-year incremental increases based on our years of service. And so all 4 of us will be receiving a pretty nice raise. Half of my salary is paid by the county, half is paid by the state. Really the county's portion of my salary increase is not that much. Most of that money is coming from the state. It should be the same with Judge Crane as well. And then, of course, the state pays all of Judge Lewis's and Mark Pratt's salaries, except for, I believe, y'all give Mr. Pratt $18,000 a year as a county supplement. So anyway, that is the difference in my salary. In terms of my staff wages, I have reflected a 3% increase in my requested budget. The operational cost, for the first time in a long time, I'm requesting an increase in my training and mileage budget. As y'all know, I serve on the board of TDCAA. Most of the trainings that Mickey and I attend are through TDCAA, and we went up from on conference registration costs from $350 to $500 because we have not increased those in years, and the cost of the hotels and the food and beverage services just going through the roof. So we felt it necessary to increase those, so we will fill those in my office. If you flip over to page, I know we have to kind of explain this to you every year, but the excess salary line item, as I discussed, the state, they send the county, an amount of money that reflects half of my salary. Well, as the county portion of my salary grows, if the state funds are less than 50%, those pour over into this excess salary line item. And what the law says is I can only spend those for expenses of my office. I can't increase my own salary on those. Those have historically been used to supplement salary of the assistant county attorney, and I believe when Mr. Pratt was still county attorney, he used it to supplement the wages of his staff. We haven't done that. I was giving Vicki, I think $3,600 a year out of that fund, but since SB 22 was passed in the last legislature, the 88th legislature, I have replaced that with the state SB 22 funds. And so that's the next budget, is the SB 22 budget. Those funds, the state sends us, for a county our size, Mr. Pratt and I each get $175,000 from the state. We returned, how much of that money did we return to the state? Quite a bit.
Last year, the actual was 25,594, so you're gonna end up sending back close to 150,000.
Right, and of course that was a partial budget year. As you know, one full-time member of my staff, Amanda Anderson, that we added, she's paid entirely out of SB 22 funds, so she's at no cost to the county. And then Michaela Alvarado receives salary supplement with SB 22 funds, as well as Katie Cole, Crime Victims Coordinator. And I have reflected an increase on Ms. Cole's salary with SB 22 funds. I haven't talked with Mr. Pratt about whether he was going to give his assistant DAs any additional money out of SB 22. I would like to bump Benji up some more with those funds rather than return them to the state, but I also am mindful that probably can't pay Benji more than a felony prosecutor, so even though she has duties to pay on that, but we're trying to keep that fairly even across the board, so it's fair to everybody. That's all I've got. Any questions?
Yeah, David, how far in advance do you think you're gonna need another attorney? Because if Hill County grows, all that stuff.
Well, okay, so, and this is it's a good question. I had this conversation with Judge Lewis going back several years, and then I brought it up with Judge Brazel the other day. The one huge variable in that, to me, is we have regional counsel to cover our CPS dockets. We've had it for years. It's obviously a luxury for us in the county. And so the state sends an attorney out of Austin to cover Hill County's CPS cases. There is a real possibility that we will lose that coverage. And I mentioned to Judge Lewis a number of years ago that if we lose that coverage, I would absolutely need another attorney in the office, because I wouldn't say that is a 100% full-time job, but it's close to adequately cover the CPS cases.
But I know you have more and more things that come up, your drug court.
They are, there are some things that if I had a third attorney, that I would like to accomplish, like environmental enforcement. I don't think I can justify a third one right now, but I'm glad you asked the question, because I do see it coming in the next several years, particularly if the state changes the CPS bill.
Well, the federal government's cutting back a lot of state things. I figure that eventually will get into us too.
And, boy, we do not get much support from the state on things like environmental. Actually, we get none. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. I had a case set for a trial on an environmental case, on a septic system case, a couple of years ago, and I had subpoenaed a guy named Tim Blackman in Waco, TCEQ, to come testify, and that went all the way up the chain in the legal department of TCEQ, and they contacted the Attorney General's office to file a motion to quash my subpoena because they did not want to send a member of their staff to come support us in our trial. So you can probably guess what my opinion is of TCEQ.
Like all of us.
All right, any other questions? All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you all. Want to go ahead and try decision? Okay.
Whoever y'all like, just I don't know.
Come on. Do it.
One.
Good now?
Yeah, do this time. We got a spreadsheet here going upstairs with Matt upstairs. Dealing with it right now. All right, so we made a couple of changes in my budget. One that affects the bottom line, and that had to do with the county supplement. The legislature has changed the law beginning this next, I guess it goes into effect in September, but it doesn't go into effect until October. For the first time, they've changed that cap, and so I'm asking if you feel y'all have sufficient funds to move it to the new amount that they've set. Other than that, I visited with Susan. She told me that the bonds in the insurance part was going up, and asked that I increase that. I did by $1,658. However, then I took that money out of some other accounts that I had, so it's actually a net zero in my budget. I had a couple line items where it didn't appear that I was going to spend it all. I had one other I needed to increase, which was machine and equipment rental, because because of color copies, we have to pay for those individually, and I need those for my trials. And so I increased it by $300, but I also took that out of a different line item. So other than the supplement, it was the same as what it was last year. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions y'all have about anything.
How are your cases then? Getting more?
Well, yeah, we get a lot of cases, as you know, and if somebody wanted to fish out on the interstate, I suppose you get an unlimited number of cases. But we've been getting around 500 felony cases a year, and that seems to be holding steady. We have times that it increases, over that, and some times that are a little bit slower, but it's not really like a seasonal cycle where you can predict it. It just, they come when they do. But yeah, we've been staying very busy.
Are you still getting longer sentences and larger surrounding counties?
Well, the last two trials that I personally did was last month. Somebody got a life sentence, and got 60 here, so we're getting some large census. We've got some good jurors that y'all know. And we're fortunate to live here amongst the folks that we do, and they just simply aren't going to put up with that type of crime. And they seem to agree with me and my philosophy on handling those. And most of the attorneys are well aware of how I handle things here, and so as the years have gone by, it's been easier and easier to get a lot of those resolved short of a trial, because they know what that results in. And yeah, so we've been able to meet it, but every now and again you're just going to have defendants that want to give it a try, or defense attorneys that want to give it a try.
Was it last year you showed us, or the year before, how harsher Hill County was than some of the other counties?
I think so. I think I got the records from the Office of Court Administration, which maintains those records statewide, and somebody had a question regarding that, so I pulled that together because they have it for every county, and it shows what that is.
Which I think is very good.
Yeah, I do as well. I don't do that certainly by any means to be unfair. My job is to see that justice is done, and that's what I think happens here. Perhaps not in some other places, and I can't speak for them. Maybe it's different administrations, whether it be prosecution, law enforcement, or the juries that they have, or the judges that they have that are different. But that's not the way that we conduct business here.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate the support y'all have always given my office, and that you have for law enforcement and for the courts as well. And I feel like y'all have always funded us sufficiently to allow us to do our jobs, and we've all been on the same page.
Appreciate your efforts.
Appreciate y'all.
Let's have one more. Yes.
I forgot to mention one thing about my budget. And I brought this to Shane's office yesterday. I'm asking for $8,500 for our iCrime Fighter cloud-based software. That is the software we're using to manage our video evidence, and we push that out to the defense attorneys via a link. And so we don't have to copy flash drives or DVDs, things like that. So that's saved a little money on that, but the defense attorneys seem to like it, and we would like to continue to use it. It is unlimited storage, and the amount of digital evidence that prosecutors' offices are handling these days is astronomical, and there's no limit on the software to how much we can upload into their cloud. So,
and if you look behind his spreadsheet, there's a sheet that reflects that. It's in the third page, fourth page.
I recently got something from your office regarding that, in case it changed y'all's a misdemeanor, but for me to handle that as a felony. So they came over and got a link for me initially where I can log in and use it. As that goes by, we may explore it. In some ways, I'm still just old school, just like to see me here with paper, and I still have my paper files, and I'll have my tabs on as I organize things for jury trial and such, and go through, and we'll do that. But we do scan every single thing in, and we provide all of our discovery to the defense attorneys in electronically. Just I want a paper copy that I'm working with, can write on, and do everything with it. With the videos, we've been burning copies. We do receive some electronically, and as this goes on with his, we develop it. I may work with my staff to incorporate that. If so, I expect, however, that because I've got an asset forfeiture fund, which the county attorney doesn't have, is that I would just be able to come and ask that be funded if I ever do go that route out of those funds that I already have. I wouldn't need any additional funds, but we may do it that way. But David's been kind of on the forefront of some of that.
Statement funding of that.
No.
Evidence retrieval and transmission.
No, they do not.
That's all it was.
one significant difference, though, between the DA's office and the county attorney's office is the retention schedules, and that most of his cases are forever, and so makes you a little nervous to have a contract with a cloud software company that may sell or go out of business or whatever, and
Yeah, requirements maintained
and
forever.
mine is 5 years, so if we had to pull, if they notified us that they were shutting down and we had to pull that stuff off, maybe it's doable, for the DA's office, it'd be impossible.
And some of mine have many different agencies working, so just hours and hours and hours of video just on a single case. So there is a tremendous amount of video, and he's right. We had seen, despite promises, I know the sheriff's department's had an issue with that, with, changing service providers, and then suddenly some of the stuff is gone when they update it. And you have periods of time that just everything is then gone forever, and I can't afford to do that. Some of these folks that have got put away, they can file appeals, and I deal with plenty of appeals. I got many going right now. And folks file as a habeas corpus, and they may have been in prison 10, 20 years, and things come up where you potentially need it. Not to mention required to keep some of that stuff.
Sure.
Some other things, even our law enforcement has to keep forever, stuff that might have, say, DNA evidence on.
One significant development we've had in the last year plus, was a decision called the Heath opinion, Heath versus State, where the Court of Criminal Appeals decided that the Michael Morton Act in 3914 Code of Criminal Procedure requires us to provide everything to the defense. Well, the law enforcement agencies are supposed to turn everything over to us, and they don't always. And so what the Court of Criminal Appeals decided under Keith is, well, prosecutors, you have a duty to know everything that's out there. Basically, we're supposed to be clairvoyant, I guess. And so I now have a member of my staff who pretty much all she does is watches videos all day long, every day, to see if, and we catch it all the time. Oh, this was a sheriff's office case, the DPS was there. They showed up at the scene. Well, they're rolling body cams, and they've got in-car, and, maybe they should have written a supplement that they didn't write. But, so then we have to go say, okay, DPS, we need your video as well, because that's part of the case.
If anybody with the state has something, which includes CPS or, Waco PD or whoever it might be that's shown up and been involved in the scene, has anything, we're just presumed to know that we have it. Even if, say, our deputy didn't put, or our police officer didn't put in their report that they had a video or had some other piece of evidence, but they in their head know that we do, or they do have it even, then we're required to have turned that over. So, yes, it does take a lot of time, and with the amount of videos that we have, well, I can't pay my staff to work 24/7 because you would have to watch videos all night and all day, and I've seen every single one, but I have to go through the court, try to make all the reasonable inferences I can, and hunt down whatever else I can and give it to them. That is the way that works in Texas. I'm required to give them every statement, every video, every report. That's not how it was for my first 20 years as a prosecutor, but that's sure enough how it is now. If we have to give it to them as soon as practical after we get it. But with the defense, they still don't have to give us anything, not even a list of their witnesses, much less any statements or pictures or videos they have. We just have to shoot from the hip. It's just the way that it is. And I don't see that changing.
We tried to get the Heath issue fixed in the legislature, and it failed. But we even proposed, like Mark was talking about, reciprocal discovery, where the defense has to give us, their witness list and things like that. But that's a big fight with the defense side. So.
I try to do it.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're caught up to schedule now, so I'm going to kick back on schedule and go
using my personal one. That's my fault that I haven't requested that. I always forget about it, so. And then the only other increase I think we're gonna have is just a little bit, for just in case for training and mileage. If I had been able to attend all my trainings this year, then I would have been just a little bit over. So, I probably won't use all of that, but just to have it there just in case, so I don't have to do an amendment, for the upcoming year. Utilities, I think everybody's are going up, so there's that. Our postage is kind of staying the same. Thankfully, my clerk likes to email and do things electronically, whereas I do not, so that's gonna stay the same. Phone office rent, Mr. Moss hasn't asked for anything to increase, so that's all staying the same. And that is all I have, I believe.
Any questions, Linda?
Just also, we are still, for security reasons, we've had a couple of instances over the past several months. If we can find something comparable at a comparable price to move us back towards Hubbard, that way we're not in the middle of nowhere. I know we had talked about the Penelope thing, and while that is great to have something new, but that still leaves us just kind of sitting ducks in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of hard to, from Larry and Kyle or Oak here, once together, to get them, back to where we are. It takes quite a while, and we've been in a couple of situations where we needed somebody immediately and weren't able to do that, so, nothing that we need to decide today, we just kind of want to put that out there, that we would like to get closer to civilization, if we could, especially our bank is there, post office, the one in Malone closes at 11 every day, so, with no bank, we're having to drive, all the way back into town to make our deposits, which makes my clerk have to leave early 2 or 3 days a week to get there before the bank closes, to make that deposit and be able to get the deposit slip to send back to Rachel and everybody, so, just keep that on your radar, and if we find something that's comparable, obviously at a comparable price, then we would like to do that.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Judge Jones? We're ready?
Good.
How are you good?
How you doing? Good. I see everybody. On mine's pretty simple. What do you think? I was asking for a little bit of increase on the electricity. I recently had a long-term 4-year contract that expired, and the new one, I was a little surprised at the increases, as is everything. And but I can work with that. It's nonsense. The other thing is, for the last 14 years, we've been getting water and sewer for free from the city. I really can't remember exactly what the deal was that the manager at the time told me, but that was a good thing. But now they're charging, so I need to have a budget line for. I put in there for $100 a month, but it runs about $95 or so. And into the past, I had a business that would share some of the costs, but I shut that down like 3 years ago. And this year, I've done a lot of remodeling and made it look a lot more like a JP office, you know, should, lobby and everything. So because of that, and mainly because of the taxes and insurance, I'm asking for a little increase on the rent too, if it's possible. You know, whatever you want to satisfy. That's all I got.
Any questions for Judge? No? All right, good.
Thanks.
Ms. Cole?
So the budget I have given you, I'm sorry, extra in my budget. This is the first year that I've ever asked for any money. I'm asking for $550. My supply budget had gone up just a little. I actually reached my budget, which I've never done. And I attribute that to a lot of our victims outcrying more, calling our police departments and our sheriff's department, which I find is a good sign. Yes, that's sad, but I find it that our citizens are trusting our officers a whole lot more to make that call and to have those deputies show up and their willingness to contact me. So I've had to, with the AG's office and how the AG's office likes for me to do things is by paper, a lot of it by paper. I don't like to do that. I like to get their email address and have it in their email account for safety reasons, especially if their spouse or whoever is stalking or tracking them, if it's family violence or whatever the case may be. I like for them to have a secure email where they can resort back to whatever resources I send them. But if I have to send them victim letters and stuff by mail, as the AG's office likes for me to do, that kind of raised my budget. And I think actually I went a little bit over, so I'll have to get with Susan. That's why I'm only asking for $50 extra there. Because I know I can get with Susan and kind of rework, maybe with my postal budget and kind of rework that amount. I keep my postal budget low because I do utilize email and communicate with my victims in different ways. So my training and travel budget, I did ask for $500 extra because when I did my grant this year, I did not know that they had gone up on the fees for my conferences. So my grant covers my entire salary except what David has allowed to supplement to make me a competitive employee. I, for the last 7 years, have not ever asked for a raise from y'all, ever. Typically, I come in here and don't ask for anything. And I take pride in that. I am a taxpayer, so I like to know where my money's going as well. But I also have to keep my head above water and feed my 3 children and one who is going to be a senior in high school this year and going to college next year. So, and then I got one in select ball who is traveling the United States this year. So I too need money. But I also am a fighter for the people and the citizens and our children. Our forensic interviews, I had 2 yesterday, one got canceled, but the one in the afternoon broke my heart. So when we talk about our kids and we talk about what people make here in Hill County and how they're suffering, I don't think people know what goes on in their homes. So my job, as little as my little tiny budget is and how thin I stretch it, I make it work with what little funds I have. So that's why I only ask for $50 in my supplies, because I'm going to make it work. And if you allow me to have my little extra travel, I will make it work. And if it's not approved, I will make my travel budget work however I need to. I will get with Miss Susan. We will figure it out. Again, everything else is covered by my grant. If we have to amend it, if I'm not able to go to one thing, I will find a free training somewhere else. I have to go to the mandated OAG conference every January that they just now started doing. Due to COVID, they had stopped. They had a lot of turnover, and now they've started it back up, which is super expensive, and I don't know why they picked the most expensive hotel for us to go to. And you have to valet park. You can't even park yourself, which I think is ridiculous, and it all comes out of the grant. But I have that every year, and then I choose to go to key personnel or annual every year for my, further education. So if I am not able to go to one, I will find a free training to go to if that is online or in person. So this is the legit first year I'm ever asking for anything. I hope you take it into consideration, but if it's not in the cards, and I will make it work. Any questions? these to you yesterday, I know you are very small.
I do have a question, to be honest, not with your stuff, but the rainbow room.
Yes,
And,
that's, yes.
Right, so, we're trying to figure out that building down there, moving people around.
Yes.
One of the ideas broached was moving the rainbow room somewhere. I have no idea where we could possibly go. Is there any idea? Slightly off topic, but it will affect our budget one way or the other. Either we make modifications to the existing building we have, which that idea has been floated, and I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It could be possible, which would cost money, or we try to find another location, which is still gonna cost money. Either way, it's gonna cost money.
Yes.
Um,
So technically, what was over there, what it was intended for, where the Apathy Center is at. It was supposed to have an observation room for the forensics and then for, the MDT to be able to observe, plus counseling rooms, plus a lobby. And then those were transitioned into, we kind of shortened that down so our auditors could be over there, and that's not feasible. And then we have this rainbow room. So, that rainbow room, it definitely needs space because we have to be able to provide. To me, it's like what other buildings do we have, or could we take in that space that's in the middle?
Right. That's been the most.
I mean, because we can
It's
fit
been
it,
the most-
so nothing happens to the products that and clothes that are in there. Because it's just leave it like it.
That's the only idea that I've heard that's semi-feasible so far, which would be basically reducing the size of the lobby that's in the
Yes.
Kevin Street Annex. Building another wall, moving maybe auditors into that area.
Yes.
Maybe a jury room that we can soundproof for the court, because that
Oh,
became an issue with the live trial. And just kind of playing musical chairs there to try to make it more usable for them, make the auditors have a more usable space, so.
Oh, yeah, because there's some.
Yeah, so, okay, I just asked her here.
Yeah, no, they do need a space for sure though.
All right, any questions?
Sorry to give those to you today though. I like organization, I should have told punch them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Susan, you want to go? Hey, Ms. Susan, can I ask you to wait just a second? Zach Davis from AgriLife is out of town and at a conference, and he wanted to come in via Zoom, and I forgot he's scheduled that.
Yes, sir.
He's on there now. Mr. Davis, are you on with us? You can unmute your microphone. There he is.
Yes, sir. How are y'all today?
Doing well. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Doing good. I regret that I'm not able to be there in person. I appreciate y'all letting me jump on this Zoom link and present our request. Should be short and sweet. First and foremost, certainly appreciate everything that y'all do for our office and employee that we have there, as well as treat the agents as full county employees there and so forth. So appreciate that. Our budget is pretty simple in terms of requests. Everything is essentially static from last year. The only line item that was increased at all, which I think is probably just a technicality, but it's the county longevity line item. Was pretty short for what was budgeted based on Leanne's tenure with the county. So we bumped that up to be able to accommodate what her longevity pay would be. And other than that, everything else was just static across the board there. Just a lateral move from last year to this year in terms of request.
All right. That sounds pretty simple.
Yes, sir. We did have, and I don't know if you're doing these internally, Shane, or how you're doing that, but we did have some line items that or at least one, the department head line item has been on our budget for several years, and we don't necessarily break that one out. And so in terms of additions or deletions, that one could certainly go in that line, or in that budget, just to clean things up there.
Yes, sir. I believe it looks like it should fall off next year, because we
Right.
keep it on there, until, for a certain amount
Yes,
of
sir.
years.
That was my assumption, but just wanted to throw it out there just in case.
Sounds great, sir. I don't know, just sidebar info, the amount of emergency management that their office has started taking on is very interesting, especially with the most recent emergency that has happened, and how the Ag Extension Office plays into that, since they are now under the Department of Emergency Management, technically. And so they have a whole role, should we have some disaster here, they would also fall in and help with our emergency management division from the ag side, which I found very interesting. I haven't got to sit down very long with Zach. It's usually about 2.5 minutes every time, because we're both very busy. But we are going to sit down and kind of get up a game plan, and probably sit down with the emergency management folks and try to integrate them fully into our emergency management plan going forward. So.
Right, yeah, and just to add to that, AgriLife is now in charge of what they call ESF 11. And I haven't learned all the acronyms yet, but that encompasses anything ag and natural resource related. So anything livestock related, or emerging disease or pest in crops and things of that nature would fall under us. Whereas previously it was under Texas Animal Health Commission. They will remain a support agency in that endeavor, but yeah, we'll be the key player in anything ag and natural resource related there. And that could be anything from a cattle hauler flipping a truck right there in the county to a natural disaster. So glad to hear that we can get together, and I've got some plans that have already been drawn up by the vet school at A&M, some emergency sheltering type stuff that we can look through and all. So there's a lot of pieces in place that just got to be adopted as we move forward through that.
All right. Any questions, Ms. Biggs?
So, but on the rental are they having to do anything with the rental of the exhibit building, or?
Well, right now, yes, the Ag Extension Office, I've got them in charge of running the building. In general, we are not running the building any longer. There were some things left on the calendar from Judge Lewis. We've been cleaning those up, and we didn't want to just cancel. They'd already rented it. So we didn't want to just kick them out and say you can't do it. But we have been slowly canceling those things off. So it'll only be available to the county or schools. We're actually in the process of adopting. We've got the old policy. We're going to adopt a new policy presented to the court as to what that building's purpose is, what we're going to allow it to be used for, and whatnot. So, and Zach has been kind of leading the charge on that for me. He's gotten me the information. It's just we're going to put together a new updated policy on that building and go from there. Yeah, and we did use it for the Texas Task Force guys. They came in, and ladies and dogs came and stayed for it we stayed in it for a week. So it was really great that we have the resource. I just want it to be, when it needs to be used, especially in emergency, it's ready to be used. And it's ready to be used. Well, Mr. Davis, I appreciate you.
And I guess one final thing that I would mention is we have had a vacancy in the family and community health position. And as I was told here about a week ago or so, we do have applicants for that, and we'll be interviewing for that first part of August. And so we'll probably have somebody on board somewhere around September.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. You have a good one.
All right, thank you.
All right, Ms. Susan?
I'm into y'all's books, and have your books out earlier. Anyway, I put together our budget. The auditor's office is a resource to all the departments, and the auditor is the chief financial officer of the county. We have general oversight and books of the records of every office that collects money or is authorized to collect money, and we have to see to the strict enforcement of the laws governing county finances, which includes purchasing and budgeting. The county collections, they're receipted in by the treasurer, but all the JPs and the district clerk, those are reconciled through our office, matching up all the fee codes with their reports, figuring out if we have, items that are out of whack, that need adjustment or need some follow-up, and discussion, so that we can get that money collected and out to the states and to the county. And so those take a good bit of time, and July is the month that we pay it to the comptroller. We get the county clerk's money too, but it seems like we don't have to do as much. Also, now it's simpler. It's nice that way. Thank you. Anyway, I just gave you a synopsis of that. We file all kinds of reports on these fees, grant reimbursements, the indigent defense. Oh my goodness, they're gonna add another report every single year. Because, when you have an attorney voucher, you gotta know, does the attorney represent the mother, or the father, or the child, or the guardian, or and we have to track all of that, and there's no way to track it in our financial system, so we track it manually, continually paying bills, researching things. The fiscal officer for adult and juvenile probation, insurance pool coordinator, inventory control, budget monitoring. Anyway, because of all those duties, I am requesting some adjustments in pay for the staff. My staff is pretty young, but I have some incredible staff that is working for me. We picked up on bills. A bill came through one of the environmental controls and was signed off on by everybody, and we got it down to our review, and the person tackling that, it wasn't even our county's bill. It had just been gone through the system. Everybody thought we're okay. So, $4,000 we didn't have to pay. And but anyway, I had some really good people for doing that. Now, the budget's a little bit uncertain because I told the judge to go ahead and start finding somebody. We want to have a coexistence for a while, but they're going to have different wants and needs and directions, and we're doing the best we can. We meet with the district judge on August 8th to set our salaries, and this is what I'll present to him. Space for our office is something that'll need to be done. We may do,
A little printed.
might do. I don't know, as long as Kathy doesn't bring in her dogs and cats, I guess we'll be all right. I'm sharing with Kathy right now. They did bring up, Philip is looking into this, what the online storage is. We need some of that. We have zero storage space, but our grant files and things have to be kept for a minimum period of time. We just this October, we're going the 2015 FEMA files. Until the 2018 FEMA project is put to rest, it's 3 years from that. We can't count. So we have to keep records for a long period of time.
And when is that gonna happen, ma'am?
Well, we had filled out a records request 2 weeks ago. We've sent them multiple times already, but we sent it again to this Horn, whoever they are.
What a mess.
And we're having another one due out next week, I think, or in the next week. So we're gonna hang on and we're gonna get some money. We might not get every penny we asked them for, but we're gonna. I'll tell you, that grants, let's see, the disaster was it November 18th or September 18th. And then, the period of performance they had starting in February. I said, well, we made some repairs from when that grant started to February. So they were telling me like we had to have a scope modification and all this. And I said, no, the disaster was declared and this is after the disaster and this should be paid. Oh yeah. So, you know, I don't know if it's new people looking at the records.
They're forcing them
But
to.
I hope they'll stay with us. I hope they won't change them before we have to do it all again.
They might want to switch hands again.
And a future consideration, how big is Hill County? What's the population? They say our population is not reported. In a population of 41,680, we're getting closer to 42,100. The law says we're the purchasing agent if one hasn't been appointed. So I feel like that's something staring at us in the future. Either we're gonna have to get a purchasing agent or the auditor's office will have that duty within the next few years. I don't know if we're at 38.
I mean, it depends. The official is 38-ish, but we all know that's not correct. And if we do, which obviously we don't have any another census coming, but real soon. But if we ever get a good one, then it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a problem. No, that's just, you said to bring forward future things.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what I have. For the budget page, added, I guess I added $15 to dues and membership. I did add $1,100 to training and mileage. I think that some of those expenses are going up. They might not be needed, but auditor has to have 40 hours of education on accounting staff each year. We try to do whatever we can online and for free, but sometimes that just doesn't happen. Bonds and insurance, the auditor is the only one required to be bonded in our office. We don't deal with money. But we can't, right now the other staff are not bonded in my office. The contract service, I didn't use any this year. I don't know if we'll use it before the end of the year. We have to get a better inventory system, just keeping up with the inventory on spreadsheets. It's not working very well. We had a pretty slick little program and then somehow through the different updates, it was prior to Philip's time, but somehow they lost our program. And then the company went out of business. It was just an Excel access database. I think that could have been used for a while, but anyway, we don't have it now, so we're back into the manual things. That doesn't work so good. But I'll have some more about that in a moment. Supplies, I think I kept the same for postage, machine equipment rental. I just left everything else the same. So my true increase from this budget is $1,115. Besides the salary, the next page, I was looking at this possible inventory program that would integrate integrator cookbooks called Sportly. I'm not sure the price, that $10,500 might be too much. QuickBooks Online is a disaster, but we are gonna get access to it to assist us with the tax office. That's what they use for theirs, and we're gonna get more involved on that. We probably are gonna need a new laptop with microphone and camera in this budget year. And then the last page is our people didn't really participate in the salary survey, but I've kind of set them up to fit those categories. So all of the people that work in my office are assistant auditors. And so Shanda, we were gonna put as the court coordinator, chief, everybody has a top person. And then I have Teresa and Daisy as the second level. Some of the JPs are at that level currently. Kathy, I talked to her about probably going part-time. Right now we started the year with Rachel and I sharing her, and then Rachel wanted to go on and get this other part-time, and Kathy came to us, so we're filling out the rest of this year. I'm working the 30 hours at full-time, but I think we're gonna go to part-time as the staff learns more and more. We're needing her less. So we're looking at paying her for 20 hours per week at $28 per hour. Then have the county raise for this trip. I don't really know when I talked with Justin about it, but we need a senior accountant auditor. I think as a new auditor that comes in, I'm just able to do more because I know what I need to do and how to get it done. And I don't know, that might need to be, we might need to just at that point drop off the part-time and then have an accountant. But we really need a trained accountant. There's really not, except for myself and Kathy. I think Marshall hired an accountant recently to help her. Those are the only true accountants that know how to work with the general ledger and the books and all of that, because they've had training in accounting. We have a lot of people that can do a lot of jobs as instructors. It takes a little more knowledge to pull all that together. So.
And I think that was purely accidental that Marshall stumbled into that employee. It was not yeah, I know you were upset about that.
Darn it.
Yeah, there's a lot of accountants out there, but there's not a lot of accountants that know the mechanics of government. And that's where the trap is.
Right.
We fell into that before.
Right.
We need to make sure we don't do that again.
Yeah.
Lots of due diligence.
That's on your district judge. He's the one that gets to make that decision.
He knows it's important.
I was about to say, I think if anybody were gonna make that decision, I feel like he's in a good seat to make that decision. He's got some experience in dealing with that, so.
I guess when we got up here in closing, we were here to help elected officials reach their goals in a fiscally responsible manner and be of service to Will County and their citizens. Whatever we can do, we're gonna do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Susan.
Sheriff, can we get you in?
You do Mr. Orton.
Okay. He's on the phone.
Time's quite lengthy, it's up to you. I've been here this long, I can wait.
Yeah, well, let's do Mr. Worker real quick, since he's been waiting. It shouldn't take too long to look around.
I'll just tell him.
Oh, he's coming in.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, how are y'all?
Good.
Still talking about all that, everyone? You can talk about all that. You don't say all day long.
I got way too many pieces.
You don't say one of these.
we'll start off with good things this year, you know, roughly over $400,000 come back to the county from new claims. I know I put on there asking for a part-time. I was just instructed or informed that part-time is considered different than what I want, but I want to put it in this perspective. I was part-time when I first came on here as a BSO. I think I made $225 a week when I first started as a part-timer. So if you look at that, then let's go back to the car. You gave me a car 2 years ago for $37,000. I only paid $32,000 for it, so I saved $5,000 that year. The next year, the overlay still showed $37,000 that I never used. It shouldn't have been on there. So you add that $42,000. So in the last 2 years, $40-something thousand has been in the county not used. The next thing was there's a miscellaneous line on there for $250. That $250 was put on there years ago to help do some things that were miscellaneous, but apparently miscellaneous doesn't work, so we need to take that line off. There's no reason to have that line on there. And then with this right here is one case that I did last night. I'm still working on it. That's one person. Okay? I come across this 2 times a week. So I'm asking for, you know, another part-time VSO, not a part-time person, a part-time VSO. They're certified, they can do the same thing I do, they'll be even double. What else? I think that's it. I don't ask for a lot. So if y'all want to consider it, that'd be helpful for us. We love it. The reason I'm asking for the part-time is, as everyone knows, that 9/11 has just come up on a big mark, right? So what do you think we're starting to see 20 years later? Does anyone have an idea? What do you see? What do you see? You see retirement. This is a veteran who was a National Guard reservist in active duty, retired. They're harder to work than an active duty person.
Why is that?
Well, because, I'll use him as an example. He comes here, he works, he gets deployed, right? He does a weekend, he does this. When he does his weekend, if he gets injured, he goes to a personal doctor. If he's on base somewhere, he gets to go there. So everything that you have to compile for a veteran who's National Guard Reserve is 10 times harder to find their stuff. And when they do find their stuff, we have to relate it to their service. And so it's much harder. And that's what we're coming across right now, is that the National Guard and Reserve are starting to retire. And there's a lot of them that's happening. So in the end, also preparing this office to be successful in the next 5 years, because I'm 62. And so, you know, I'm not going to be here much, you know, over 5 more years. So we need to start preparing this office to be in good shape.
So what do you see as far as increase in your caseload?
Well, I mean, caseload is different for every county. Okay, I'll tell you this much. In the state of Texas, it's starting to become there's not a whole lot of one-man shows in the BSO world anymore. There usually 2 people more. So what you find is, as far as caseload is that it's based on the office. So like, I could be bossy. Does anyone know about bossy? They don't have one, right? Their judge holds the hat. So who gets their load? We don't go see them, but they do show up at our office. But at the same time, you're only as good as the person doing the job. So you know, we asked how many people in this county. It's more like 42, by the way. Your count should be more like 42,000 in this county. And the average for veterans is right about 4,000 to 4,200 people that are veterans in this county. And for every person who dies, no one comes in. So also, you have to count the spouses, right? A spouse comes in. You know, we don't always, we say veterans, but so let's use $3,800. I mean, 3,800 full veterans, but that means that there's 3,800 spouses. And then also, there's surviving spouses, and then children who are going to school. So, you know, it's, I think on the average, I can say that I honestly see 25 people a week, you know, and if they start getting like this, now, I don't, you know, I love at nighttime doing this stuff too. You know, I can't do this all the daytime. I can't sit there and go through every day and figure it out. So, in any case, when I'm looking at a part-time person, I kind of go by how I was paid. And I know that me and Rachel talked, but, you know, I think you can pay a DSO, you don't have to pay the DSO based on, I don't ask you to pay me based on whatever that thing was, you know, that they did. I don't, and the truth is, if you take that survey and you pay me what that survey was, I'd probably make $20,000 more a year based on that survey. Okay? But in any case, I mean, this is for future. We don't have to do it this year. I just want to get it on the books this year. Then definitely get to the point where we have another part, you know, another VSO next year too. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes, sir. All right. Hope I didn't take too much of your time. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all then. Oh, I'm not retired for 5 years, so. So, you know.
Sheriff? You don't have much, do you?
No,
sir.
There we go.
It's very short and sweet. I'm gonna make this, try to go as quick as possible. I'm gonna start with some smaller budgets. So, no particular order.
Where do you wanna go, Greg?
I'm gonna go with two 911 dispatch. All right. Yeah. So on yeah, so the chief worked on this one pretty extensive, and we can say that to the end if you prefer. That way he can describe it to you and explain why. Unless you want to do it. Go ahead, chief.
So, we looked at the salary study, we considered the previous level of pay for telecommunicators. It appeared in the previous salary study that was conducted here over the last year or two, I think the dispatchers got left out in the cold on the salary increases that were supplied to personnel at the sheriff's office. I think across the board, the salary study recommended a 12% increase per pay level. It's currently in dispatch now from dispatcher 1 or training through dispatcher 4. As well as I think a 9% recommended increase for the dispatch manager position. Considering that big number, 12% to me on a recommended pay increase is a pretty big number. That was pretty telling, I guess, in our eyes, that the dispatchers here were due a somewhat considerable raise. We've had a very difficult time filling dispatch positions, even getting applicants for it, because again, like most places, you can go out to Buc-ee's here and clean toilets for as much or more than a dispatcher gets paid to work a stressful 12-hour shift, manning a console, you know, days on end. The staff wages increase that's requested in there that shows $120,000 increase overall for the whole division is factoring in the recommended 12% increase of the salary study. It also includes staffing each position, or funding each position rather, at level 4 grade. so we don't have to play the continual guessing game each year when it comes to the budget. We can provide due increases for an annual salary increase to clean budget years and not have to worry about going on the budget. There are a number of reasons for that, but the majority of that is for the recommended increase in salary, as well as funding each position at a level 4 grade, so we know where we stand. We won't even really have to have a conversation at the beginning of each budget year. You gentlemen will know that if I have 10 or 11 positions in the dispatch unit, you know that you're going to fund each one of them in deputy 4, and we already know what that salary line level is going to be, so we don't have to guess. Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 4? We fund them all the same, so we know where we stand each year going forward. We basically went through and recommended doing the same thing for each division long term. That way it makes it a lot easier on you collectively, and it makes it way easier on the sheriff's office in determining the budget for the upcoming year, as well as having accessible funds for employees for due pay increases that come up between Octobers. And instead of having to guess each time, we do have a couple of tenured dispatchers there that are, in our minds, long for some pay increases because of how the previous administration's cap policy was written. There's a lot that goes into that and why that looks like such a big number. But going forward, the number wouldn't have to change unless you just chose to change it or, provided another cost of living in later years, whatever the case may be. The part-time wages, we requested an overall decrease of $28,632. The sheriff and I, looking at that objectively, believe that part-time position was massively overfunded. We don't know why. Of course, the previous sheriff and his chief deputy set last year's budget. I think we're projected to use maybe $5,000 to $7,000 of that money this current budget year with the one part-time employee that we have. We were never really sure why so much money was allocated to that line item, and while we appreciate it, those funds could be much better used elsewhere in the budget. The overtime wages. I know this has been probably an ongoing conversation for a very long time when it comes to dispatch and overtime. We do not have the number of personnel that we need in the dispatch division to work them on an 8 or a 10-hour shift and have them on a flat 40-hour work week schedule. They are not 207K exempt employees, so we are obligated to pay them overtime for any hour that they work over 40 hours each individual week versus a 2-week pay period for law enforcement or jail. So we only have enough personnel to run on 12-hour shifts. We're typically short-staffed on top of that, so you've got to give your sick call-ins, people are due vacations, time off, all those things. So we have to have those shifts covered for the sake of safety and coverage of dispatch for the county in general for the sake of public safety. So that's why the drastic increase was there. I think last year they had allocated it was $5,000 for the entire year. I'm sorry?
Yeah, but we spent 700, way over that amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The previous.
I'm not pointing fingers.
Sorry.
I'm saying it's
Historically.
yes.
Right, so, and another thing that I kind of wanted to point out with that as well, we're projected to spend a little over $80,000 in overtime this year, and it would not surprise me in the least if we actually do hit that number. I wanted to note that the sheriff and I looked through this, and we cut a ton of spending in this unit specifically to try to cover maybe 90+% of that overtime within the budget itself, rather than having to pull the money from contingency funds, so that money could be used elsewhere within the county. For the most part, we've actually been able to do that. We were pretty impressed with it overall, but the problem is on the back of that, we kind of had to shortchange some people on training through the year. As you can see from the other line items further down, some of those numbers were, and our ideas, very poorly funded last year. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but there wasn't a lot to do there to make anything happen in that division. Yet 10 or 11 dispatch positions, training is obviously expensive. We've heard all the other officials talk about it as well. Between hotels, per diems, the cost of training courses, registrations, everything else, travel, everything is just so much more expensive than it used to be. But we had cut a number of things, from the dispatch division this year to try to help make up for that shortfall, as well as the money that was saved from being short-handed as well within the same division. So I project that budget will go over anywhere from 1 to 5% by the end of the year, but I think the vast majority of that is going to be covered within itself, also resulting in the commissioners not having to take a huge chunk of money out of contingency to make up that shortfall. I think we did the vast majority of it within its own budget. So, sorry, that was just a little caveat to that. Telephones. Telephones are another story altogether. It was originally funded $50,000. I'm sorry, I got it myself. The Social Security, Unemployment, Retirement, Workers' Comp, and Health Insurance. I was under the understanding that the auditor and/or treasurer worked that in tandem to handle that. That's why that section is left blank. The training and mileage reimbursement, we did go ahead and request to keep it $4,000 because we've explored some online training opportunities. The sheriff is still working on getting the TCO training provider licenses back for the sheriff's office so we can start actually having our own training here in Hill County and not have to go farm out training with these other departments and pay for mileage and pay for gas and pay for hotels and all these things. But that is a time-consuming process that is still being worked on now with TCO as well as some area law enforcement agencies.
Would you say that telephone increase?
Telephone increase, yes, sir. That's exactly where I was about to go with this. Let's see, we requested training and mileage remain the same, 10% on laundry insurance increase per recommendation of the auditor. Contract services, we requested to maintain the same because we have no reason to believe that that's going to be any more or any less than what was needed. In truth, and I hate to keep going on sidebars here, but I need everybody to really understand that coming in with the old budget from the previous sheriff and with absolutely no documentation being left behind by the previous administration, we didn't know what bills the sheriff's office even had until we got blindsided by them in the mail or by email or through the treasurer's office. We had blown the line for basically the last 7 months trying to make sense of everything that goes on over there. We created our own internal shadow budgets, went back and we went through the known bills that we found through previous invoices, but it seemed like every week or every month there was something else we were getting hit with. There was either hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, and it's stuff that money was never allocated for, for this fiscal year that we're currently in. It's been an absolute beating. In truth, I think that a lot of the stuff that we're requesting through these budgets will repair a lot of those things, but I think even in the next fiscal year 2027, I think that's the point where you'll see the sheriff's office really get to the point where they're actually affecting the budget. This year, we're not throwing darts at the wall, just guessing on this. We took the knowns that we had, plugged them in, and these were the numbers that we came up with what we actually need going forward. So, anyway, phones is where we were originally going. So originally there was $50,000 allocated for the phones. As of right now, a little over 51 has been spent, close to 52, and it says it's projected to spend 79. That number is actually going to be much higher. We went back and looked at the billing that we get from AT&T alone for all of the cell phones, the hotspots, the credit points for the squad cars, the data usage of each of those units and everything else, and those bills run about $8,000 a month combined. So that's $96,000 a year right there just for AT&T units.
Is there not a way to negotiate an unlimited data package with those guys?
Well, it basically is. That's the thing. There's so many phones, there's so many credit points. You gotta realize we've got, 30 plus patrol units in use that all have a mobile data terminal in them. By the time you put all that together, it adds up to a lot of money. And whatever was negotiated previously, that price that's there, that was already there before Sheriff Barnes took off. We're just continuing paying the bill that's there. So yeah, that's why there's such a drastic increase. We're requested to basically double that line item because it was allocated 50 initially, and you're going to need at least 100 to carry it forward just to pay for that bill as well as the phone bill for dispatch in general, which is another thing that I'll talk about in another section of the budget.
Gets you into the year.
What do you want? What do you mean specifically?
You're gonna blow by this number before you ever get to October 1. That's what you're saying.
It's gonna be close. So I pulled all the phone lines, the actual analog original phone lines that are allocated to the sheriff's office, and we're paying roughly $200 a month for all the phone lines that they have down there now. So by the time you factor in that, that's another $2,400 on top of the 96, so you're looking at about $98,000. That's what we're requesting for 100, just to give it maybe a 3 to 5% buffer, depending on fluctuation of cost or fluctuation of data usage, or whatever the case may be. Always up for more, but we thought that this was a practical starting point to try to figure this out, because again, like I said earlier, without knowing what the previous administration was doing, without the documentation, without the contracts, and just only getting the bills as the months go by, we've been reaching out to a lot of entities asking for current contracts, everything else that goes along with it. Some of them play ball, some of them are like pulling teeth and get information out of. We canceled a lot of contracts too, but that's a conversation for another budget, just some wasteful spending that we observed. But figuring out how Bill County does business, what bills come out of what line items, because apparently there are a number of other county entities that kind of attach to the sheriff's office and some of the bill may come out of this line item for, say, Commissioner Woolman, and some of it may come out of this line item for county judge. It's hard to keep up with it all when you don't know the details and the workings of the place, like as well as the auditor would. So the problem is that the sheriff's office is the entity that actually has to plan this budget for it. So without knowing all those handshake deals or whatever agreements were made over the previous years, we're flying blind. So all we know is we know we need X amount of dollars for state phones specifically. This is what we need that we know going forward. So that was the reason of such a drastic increase in request for the telephones from the dispatch line item.
We're trying to look at that, Tim, the combined AT&T bills, which are FirstNet mobility, they were supposed to be cheaper. They've gone up to over $1,500 a month in the past year. So I'm trying to get one of my staff to figure out just where that is and what, is it just more lines, or I don't know, that's a huge increase.
We're thinking it's the credit points and the cards. I mean, you can't do without those. I mean, one thing that we did do is look to see if there were anything that we could do away with. And there's really not. I mean, I don't need a hot spot up so I can get mine to somebody else, but I mean, for the most part, if you're trying to cut anything, you would have to cut cell phones. And if you cut cell phones, then you're going to have to build a stipend, or pay for their phone usage for their personal phones. And then there's certain apps that we require to be used in our line of work that we can't force them to put on their personal phone. So it's.
You have to have like the authentication
Yeah.
apps and all that. And I did streamline y'all's bills. Shannon and I worked together with Jackson to pull out like precincts and all that, so your phone bill is now just your phone bill. So it should be a little easier to gauge.
We do have some hotspots over there that we say commission on, so if you're needing them, come get them.
Yeah, we have full box of
They're
them.
brand new.
Thank you.
It seems like to me that somebody with the AT&T business team would be willing to sit down and negotiate something that large.
And we are not on a contract with a month-to-month service. And we are not on a contract with a month-to-month service.
Maybe we ought to think about that.
We can ask for it.
Doing just a blanket contract for the whole shooting match.
And we did entertain the thought of a different company. Jackson actually went out and drove around and tested and thought it was because they partnered with Starlink. You still encountered dead spots, did you not?
So yeah, they didn't have the Starlink availability yet, but the T-Mobile service itself is what suffers in the vast majority of the county. That's the hard part, is there's other companies out there, but each company has a failing in coverage somewhere. AT&T's kind of the one that touches the most, and even it has outages, and especially if you live towards my house or the judge's house, if you don't have a cell phone booster in your house, even AT&T doesn't work. And AT&T is the
unless there's a contract option, like we pay the same amount as any other jurisdiction that has, other county government has personal. It's all unlimited data, it's a set price, there's no way around that, unless there's a contract option.
One question.
We'll look into that.
Additionally, on the phones, you got the repairs line item, we have requested an increase of $25. Originally, there was $500 allocated to the repairs line item of the dispatch division. $500 won't cover anything at all. You had two CPU systems that had to be purchased this year to the tune of three of them. How much were they again?
Yeah, it's like $6,000.
They're about $2,000 a piece, and this was a critical piece of equipment that the sheriff's office absolutely had to have for emergency communication, and we need three of them. So that was $6,000 in itself, right there. Hopefully, we don't have to deal with that same issue going forward, but we also thought an increase from $500 to $5,000 wasn't unreasonable, just because everything that's in that room, in that dispatch room, is expensive. I don't care what it is, if it's something simple as a monitor, hard drive, whatever, it's gonna be costly. So that's the reason on that one. Miscellaneous line, we proposed to remain the same, and I believe that was it for the website. Yes. Included in my submission that I sent to you, Judge, was the updated pay scale as well for dispatch, jail, and SWORD. That encompasses all the divisions of the sheriff's office as well, so you can kind of get an idea of the salaries, of what they would look like, and there's also a copy of the current pay scale in there as well, so you can see what the cost of what the percentage increase would be compared to what it is now, as far as what it could be. You want to continue on? This is animal control.
So, animal control. Not a lot, not too drastic here on this one. Just one employee. So the staff wages request $6,000 increase. That's COLA with 83-hour factored in here, not the 80-hour. We did take that from 86 hours to 83. Feel like that's more efficient. It'll supply us with a little bit more extra funds as well to use somewhere else. Longevity.
Just a sec, Sheriff. I want to speak to that real quick because it's going to flow through all your sworn personnel and your jail. Is last year, due to the nature of prior administration, it was a great idea. Judge and treasurer came up with budgeting 86 hours for those sworn personnel to try to hedge their bets against overtime just going through the roof. Once the new sheriff took over, it was the tool that helped them combat that overtime, and that's why you're seeing such a reduction in overtime. Now that they've got their feet under them, they feel comfortable with dropping that from 86 budgeted hours to 83 budgeted hours. And what that does for us is it gives us those 3 hours, which when you start doing the math, every month is a lot of money. That puts that back into the general fund for us so we can fund some of these other things. It's just one of the small tools that we're trying to use on the side to try to stretch our budget just a little bit further. They feel comfortable that those 3 hours are sufficient to still, avoid the overtime issue that we've had in the past. So anyway, I wanted to address that.
We also took $700,000 out of the reserve and gave to the sheriff department, they don't know how it started.
That was to cover the expense for last time, yes.
Yes.
So, yeah. We were cleaning up, or you guys were cleaning up, yes, sir. So.
We will not let it get to that point ever again. I promise you that.
Because we're not getting another
Well, you never get it to me, so it's okay. I won't ever ask for that much when it comes to not being able to.
I know wages are fine, but when Evergreen did their evaluation, if I'm not mistaken, the sheriff department got anywhere from 9 to 19% increase.
Only certain divisions.
Certain divisions, yeah. Advanced man, they get anything.
Yeah, it was much like the salary survey that we have now, is every one of them is a completely different, every position is completely different. The salary survey people have rhyme or reason for that, now whether I understand why it's that way, it may not be true, but, each position was treated completely different.
And no other county department is as effective as the sheriff's office, because what happens is they send somebody to the academy, they get them trained up for a year or two, and then they leave for more money. We had to do something because we couldn't keep people.
And it's still, and you see other agencies in other counties still doing this, still trying to get competitive when you have a city that pays you $100,000 coming in the door. I mean, who wants to stay unless you're just from here? You know what I mean? This is the reason why I ran, this is the reason why he came with me, and several others, is that we're from here and we want to make a difference. And unfortunately, with 93 employees and different divisions and different budgets, it costs money, and I know that. And if you get the complaints that I get, I'm sure you all get about the roads that I get about providing service for, why aren't you doing anything about these drug dealers? Why aren't you doing anything about the speeders? Why aren't you doing anything about this? And I'm like, we are doing whatever we can do with the resources that we have.
What you got to work with.
Yeah, well, we have to work. You're right. When you start to work on a dove area, the high dove area, the person that does it starts to work on it, gets pulled away to go work on something else because there's just not the staff in place. And we're growing so big.
We have that T-shirt.
We don't even take account the number of RV parks in the population. That's crazy. And the number of calls that we take at those is out the roof.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that if you look at our budget, and the sheriff generally gets blamed for taking up a very large chunk of it, but if we look at it in reality as to the justice system itself and what it takes up of the budget. Okay, so you're not just talking about law enforcement, we're talking about courts, clerks, probation, juvenile probation. When you start talking about the justice system and what the county government pays for that, that's the largest percent of the budget. Roads, auditor, treasurer, those are the little ones. All of our attorneys are considered justice system district, so that is the biggest chunk of our government.
A lot of people don't know that.
No, they don't.
They don't.
Most people don't.
Most, yeah.
They
So
don't
it
have
really,
an idea of what.
if you're looking at it, criminal activity, crime, that is what takes it.
No, and the inmates.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, it's just massive.
You're required to feed them, this many calories a day. It's just, you understand where it gets crazy. And, we explored other options, and I'll get into that later on, but we felt like those other options weren't going to be good for the county, and we will continue to do what we do and manage our budget at a higher rate than what was done in the previous, and feel that we can save the county several $100,000 basically in just the jail side. So, and y'all know as well as I do, you have employees, and I don't care how many you have and how many I have, doesn't mean anything other than we get paid a little bit more out of the budget because there's more employees. They all do an important job, I get it. And when somebody says, why don't you do anything with my roads? It's because you're out of money. I get it. Same thing that we've got going on, right? So we're trying to make it right. We're trying to be good stewards of the taxpayer money. I will go ahead and throw this out there. The FCC ruling just went into effect July 1st, saying that we can get 40% of gross revenue on inmate phone calls now. We're getting 0. So the amended contract will come before the court at the next court date. And I have elected to give all those funds to the general fund. So, don't have to, but could have kept that and used it for whatever I felt needed for inmate security and safety. But also I have the option to give it to the general fund, and that's the way the contract will be drawn up. So you'll get a pretty steady income of, it may not be huge, but $4,000 or $5,000 on average, I would say, a month. Depending on inmate population, right now we're pretty steady. So that'll come to the general fund. We can kind of see, use it however you see fit. So the repair item here on animal control, Rick works hard. He's all over this county on the streets. We have a bull impounded right now. So his vehicle repair item was underfunded, we found. So he went over on that. We're just asking it to be increased by $2,000. There was not enough in there to do his vehicle upfitting from the last budget, so that's the reason that it went over. The fuel, we asked an increase of $1,000. He drives a lot, so he uses a lot more fuel than he does, haul that trailer around. The trailer that's going to need a new floor soon, so that's why we asked for that repair line to go up, $2,000. Bonds and insurance is the standard 10% increases. We were advised by the auditor, so it would go up to us $100. Any questions on that? You got something, Chief? Any questions on that?
Where you headed?
I'm gonna go to, let's just do the school resource officer, guys. It's pretty simple. The school resource officer contract has been canceled at the request of us as the independent school district. Did include a letter that was certified mail to our office. It's just saying they're going in a different direction. They actually have our old SRO that we had in school. They're going to try to make their own police department with him. So he no longer works for us, so he can try to do his own thing up there. I wish him well. So that basically decreases the line on there by $109,744. Any questions on that? Let's do the health and safety. Health and safety, that is our OSSF staff wages there. He's due a step increase plus COLA factored in here. And that's at 83 hours, so his step increase and his COLA at 83 hours is an increase of $8,000. His training was underfunded. We request that go up $1,000. The repair line, we asked for an increase of $1,000. It wasn't enough for tires on the vehicle, what it had prior to.
Yeah, the previous line item was $500 for the entire year. That would barely cover oil changes and nails and tires as he gets them running off the road, so.
His fuel, he is one of the ones that drives a lot, so we didn't ask for an increase of $500 on that. We just don't really know what the fuel market's going to be. His longevity pay, as required by county policy, increase of $75, and of course the standard 10% for the bonds and insurance increase by $100.
Are you switching? Sure. Can I ask you to pause for just a second?
Sure can.
District judges, that's a prior case.
No problem.
Jump in, Robert, go ahead.
Gentlemen, you have, again, I'm Justin Lewis, in case none of you ever met me. We're so glad to be on this side of the you could, probably. You got my budget, there's no major changes from last year. I put a 3% COLA in there for employees, that would certainly what we're doing. We're looking at inflation in the last 12 months, 2.7%, according to the Federal Labor Bureau standard statistics. We did not come up to inflation during last year's increase in COLA, so that's the reason the increase in that. That's my main budget. Again, no major changes there. The other budget that I seem to have a pretty big impact on, that's not news, is the jury fund. The jury fund is an antiquated notion from the state of Texas that the fines paid for filing of certain cases are going to fund the court system, and that's just ridiculously inept at this point on the state's part. The fact of the matter is, every year for the last 18 years, this court has had to put money from the general fund transfer into the jury fund. Let me kind of explain what comes out of there. Over the last several decades plus, we've attempted to peel back the layer in the jury fund. At one time, they paid for court reporters out of there. pay for this, and they pay for that. We've taken those things out. The majority of the jury fund nowadays pays for court-appointed attorneys. As everybody here is well aware, Senate Bill 6, Senate Bill 8, Constitution of the United States, those things all require attorneys in certain circumstances, and that is a very large part of our bill. One of the things that you will see is that number tends to go up when jail population goes up. You have people that sit in jail for a good amount of time. Right now, last time I did the numbers on it, it's somewhere between $94 and $97 a day would it cost to house an inmate in Hill County. The average felony matter is somewhere between $750 and $800 before the point of attorney. So after about 10 days in jail, you can see real quickly how it becomes financially reasonable for the taxpayer to appoint an attorney to somebody they cannot afford. Plus, there's a whole rest of agency will go along with it that are necessary. So I know that comes up the topic, it did come up the topic. For me, many times, the jury fund is not something anybody likes to see as this funnel where we get money, but unfortunately, it is a necessity. Any questions on my request? Okay, good to see you guys. If you think of something, please let me know. It's a pleasure to see everybody, and I'll make my exit say hello.
That's on the back there, he's gonna be presented with an award today.
Yeah, and so I, for many, many years, to save the taxpayer money, I got myself appointed to the County Judges Education Committee for the state of Texas. And what that did is that appointment, they paid for my education, my lodging, my travel, those things, because I participated in and taught classes on everything from recusals and disqualifications to basic probate, guardianship, alternatives, things along those lines. So it's been $3,500 a year on education that we're required to have by law, by the way. The good judge is required to have X number of hours there to his first year and then 16 thereafter. I was able to get that taken care of due to the abrupt nature of the governor's appointment upstairs. They are meeting today in Waco, and I have been requested to come down there for a ceremony for a presentation to me. So there's that. Oh, and the other nature too, I guess I should have not made it public knowledge yet, but now it's official as I can. The regional presiding judge, our judicial district runs from Hill County down to Guadalupe County, where I was born and raised. And so that's a pretty big district, third district. Our presiding judge is in Comal County, and so technically he's kind of my boss. That being said, he suggested as new to the bench that I apply to George Mason School of Law, Economics and Judicial Institute. He said you're going to apply a couple of times to get turned down, and I think this would be a good class for you. Well, I didn't get turned down, so it's quite the honor, and I got appointed to the Economics and Judicial Institute. And I'm getting work on here thinking about it. Anyway, so that'll be upcoming again. There'll be no cost to the local taxpayer whatsoever. This is picked up at George Mason School of Law. The idea is to look at the judiciary from an economic standpoint and apply those principles. So basically, it's like going back to law school for a little bit. But anyway, those are the big things we're doing. Again, trying to relieve the amount of strain that we put on the budget upstairs and finding ways to get our education paid for outside of the normal channel of the regional fund.
Congratulations.
I think so.
It's a big deal.
Well, it's been interesting, and it's been a learning curve, no doubt about it. But I've enjoyed the people I'm working with, and frankly, it's fun. It's learning something new is always a challenge. So I've really enjoyed this change.
But you don't miss this.
Not one time out of 25. No. So, yeah, sorry about that. All right, guys. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much for letting me do it.
You're welcome, Judge.
Appreciate you. If you guys need anything further, I'm just up here between. All right, thank you.
Thanks, friends. Well, how do you want to do this, Sheriff? We got, I'm out on lunch and we've got hungry commissioners looking at me. Can we hit a smaller department and then come back, two smaller departments?
Whatever you'd like, Judge.
We've got two smaller ones that we can discuss pretty quickly. The two
Okay.
larger ones are the sheriff and the jail, which will take probably some time.
Okay, let's do the two small.
Let's go ahead and talk about 235, investigative finance, chapter 59. There's no foreseeable spending of this budget right now as we speak.
Hold on. Special budget?
235 investigative fund, chapter 59, that is it's the asset forfeiture fund.
Oh,
Yes. Bill? So, on this one, with the COLA and the 83 hours factored in for pay increases, that would increase the bills here at $48,000 total. County longevity, which is required by policy, $600 increase. And repairs, we asked an increase of $500. On the fuel, we did decrease it by $2,000. The take-home car for Bellis has been done away with, except for the courthouse supervisor, and he's on call, so he gets to take home. Uniforms, we did ask for an increase of $1,000. It's really the outfit, one deputy in their courthouse. We went to a Class A uniform, which is what I had on. When we were in the courthouse, we were special events.
I will say that there's been lots of compliments on that.
Yeah, I think
they
it's
look more professional than in the past.
I appreciate that. The security equipment line, we did decrease it by $4,500. This court, as well as grants, have been very giving to us and allowing us to get that equipment to where we need it to be. So we do appreciate that, and that's the reason for the decrease for next year on that. Bonds and insurance is the same at 10% to go up $600. So, go ahead.
I just want to say real quickly, the number on the staff wage portion is on the same line as everything else that encompasses funding every deputy in the courthouse, every deputy for position, as well as providing pay increases between budget years and the 83-hour factor. That's why that number looks so large for that small division. So, if that makes sense. Any questions on that one?
No, sir.
So you'll have that approved, but that won't necessarily be what's paid out.
On every position.
So in theory, what would happen is they would only budget as four, but they may have a deputy 3, a deputy 2, a deputy 1. Then at the end of that fiscal year, those funds would obviously go back to reserve, go back to general fund because they weren't actually spent. So the reason for budgeting that way, correct me if I'm wrong, your theory is I have a deputy 2 and in April, they're gonna be eligible by policy to be a deputy 3. Well, instead of coming back to the court and saying, I need a budget amendment because of this, he's already budgeted for deputy 4 to
Correct.
That's assuming the step system.
I imagine when we talk about the sworn
Yes,
side,
yeah.
they're gonna present
We'll get into good detail on that and why we feel that is the best way to go.
but I feel like that goes all the way through lunch if we started.
Oh, yes.
Also, there's one we're
Right, is that-
in December, and they have an applicant come in that is qualified for a lateral entry of a 4, and it was only budgeted at a 1. They can't hire that
You gotta
person.
come back, yeah.
And that is a big incentive in law enforcement right now is lateral entry. If I've been in law enforcement for this period of time, I've got this much experience, I don't wanna start at the bottom. And so it is an attractive, hiring tool.
And I think that, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm assuming that you as taxpayers and citizens in this county as well, when you request law enforcement service, that you get the best, most qualified servant that responds to your issue that you're dealing with that day, not just somebody to fill a spot. And that's what we're doing in our office now. We've had applicants that we've had to turn away. I mean, and it just is what it is. We have a standard, and we're going to hire the best possible qualified individual for that spot. And like the treasurer said, if they are experienced and deserve to have that lateral entry, then I want to be able to have that money there to incentivize them to come to work here.
Is that step policy something that you're gonna come back and present?
Yes, sir.
To the court?
Yes, sir. When we go into the law enforcement issue part of it.
We'll talk about it today.
Okay. That's not something that we will.
We won't be able to take action to adopt that, but they're gonna introduce it.
Okay, good.
So that is our smaller budgets, and I will do larger ones after lunch. That's what time we need to back.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Down on Covington Street, and we're having some shops in there. Are we gonna need same x-ray type stuff we have here, down there, because that's, you've got people that are not the most reputable coming in.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And that was a last second, judge said move it here type thing, and that's how we had to respond to that. So we had handheld and went old school looking bags and walked through, so we were able to move one of the portable, metal detectors. But as far as x-ray, we did not budget for that in our budget. I don't know how many trials we're going to hold down.
Well, you have the, once a month, right, you have the big bag.
Well, we do, but those usually aren't large issues, not that I've heard anyway. Your aging court, have you had any huge issues out of there? Do you feel like working that you need that x-ray machine over there?
We're certainly willing to entertain it.
We are.
Because they cost a lot of money, they cost a ton of money to maintain, and the warranty costs even more. Apparently the one that was purchased here, I guess there was no warranty purchase on that one, so the warranty that they offered to us to cover it going forward, as well as having to cover what in the past is
More than a machine.
a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So with the fact that we have the wands over there, with fewer people frequenting that building, in our minds anyway, and as far as the much less court proceedings actually taking place over there, we thought the wands would actually suffice for now.
And we do have access to Judge's Ponds, that's what we ended up doing, is using the one from Judge's Ponds.
Right.
Or down, just for the one, couple days, and then it got moved back.
Yes.
And you saw the number of folks that we had over there. I mean, I was over there with the lieutenants and chief showed up. I mean, we had plenty of people in that courtroom, and if he was gonna jump, he was not gonna jump very far. So, our jail did purchase some great, security devices, their bracelets, that you put on the prisoner, that are high risk for, causing issue, and, they deliver a pretty good, jolt, I would say, and they do not want that more than once, so.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a recess till 1.
Perfect.
1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Okay.
Recording stopped. Okay, so usually I let these play through recesses and breaks, but this is already over 3 hours long. I started this stream at 8:30 a.m. So I'm going to stop it and restart it. So there will be a part 2 today.